Moral of the story, men make the world a horrible place. The movie tries to be a cross between so many better things, but fails on every attempt.
Wow. I wonder what position this person's arguing from.
I know, right? I recommend you just save your money and go see something else.
I mean, if your AC's off, then maybe.
Yeah. That was a 1-star review.
Delete this movie. Not worth it.
Oh my God.
This film should not exist. Bad storytelling, awful casting, and boring concept. This movie is nonsense. How did you spend that amount of money on this? Maybe you're a fan of history, or I don't know, anything else?
Anything else? Just anything, please, anything.
Awful and foul. That was a 1-star review from IMDb.
Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Spoilers Intended, a podcast about series and films. I'm Steven, joined as always by Andrew.
Hello.
And Ryan.
I'm all mixed up.
What's happening?
What's happening?
That's right. That was 2 1-star reviews because today we are doing 2 movies. It's the Barbenheimer episode.
But can you guess which 1-star review was for which one?
I think so.
Probably.
Although, hold on. Yeah, I don't know. Because it was like men ruin the world, but wait. Wait.
I think
men are become death, destroyer of worlds.
I think the specific thing they said was make the world a horrible place.
Wow, I don't know which one was
So we're going to kick this off with Barbie. Then we're going to head on into Oppenheimer. If you're not here for Barbie, you're here for Oppenheimer. There will be timestamps in the description. You can just click and go on forward. I don't recommend it as the way to do this. They told us we're supposed to see both movies
in the same weekend as a double feature.
The government told us.
People can't be wrong.
They brought us in and they told us, look, we need you to go and see this both back to back.
Man, we finished.
That's exactly how it happened.
We finished watching Oppenheimer, and the guys behind us stood up. They're like, "All right, we got an hour until Barbie. Gotta find something to eat." It was like already 7:30 at night. It was like, man.
Oh yeah.
So because this is such a jam-packed episode, be prepared. So we are going to have a spoiler-free section for each film at the beginning, and then so we're not going to do opening topics like we normally do, and then there will be a spoiler wall which we'll tell you, and then we'll go into our nitty-gritty specifics for each film. There will be an ad break in the middle, and then just skip ahead, look at the timestamps if you do want to go ahead to Oppenheimer, and then listen to Barbie. I don't know, do whatever you want.
Yeah, mix it up.
Whatever your viewing order was, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe you want to listen to the back half of the episode first because you watched Oppenheimer, then you went to see Barbie. Then you can come back and listen to the first half of the episode. You choose your own adventure on this one.
Oh, boy. All right, so let's kick this off with a little synopsis for Barbie.
Sure, yeah.
So it's real sweet, simple, and short. Barbie suffers a crisis that leads to her to question her world and her existence.
That's pretty apt, yeah. Anybody who reads that synopsis would be like, maybe this isn't a kid's movie.
But there are still a lot of people that are trying to bring their kids to this.
Boy, aren't there. Well, we're going to talk about that, too. So this movie is starring Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, Will Ferrell, Kate McKinnon, Simu Liu, Michael Cera, and Rhea Perlman. Also narrated by Helen Mirren. And also an absolute slew of cameos, etc. As well. Directed by Greta Gerwig.
Get
that right?
That's correct.
Good.
Got it in one.
I've got a lot of names here I'm not sure about. So she's known for doing Lady Bird, Little Women, and then also worked on the Dua Lipa Dance the Night music video. That's going to be relevant.
It is.
Yeah.
Music is by Mark Robson and Andrew Wyatt.
But then a cacophony of modern
There's a lot going on
popular
here.
artists.
Neither of those guys have like a lot of film credits as composers per se. They've worked on a ton of music videos, including Dua Lipa's Dance the Night.
Yeah.
Like it feels like they all met here or something. Like we should make a movie together.
Probably, yeah.
So budget for this was $145 million.
That's actually higher than I expected.
A little bit. We're gonna get it. They went really hard on.
Well, I mean,
granted,
this was made over COVID, so some of these are a little bit bloated.
COVID considerations in there too.
Yeah, there's a little extra spending there for that. Box office as of recording. So this is
bonkers.
This is the opening weekend basically.
Yeah.
155 million domestic, and a 337 million global for its opening weekend.
Okay.
So that basically half and half, almost.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
So that is the highest opening weekend for any single movie in 2023 thus far, beating Super Mario Brothers by 10 million domestic.
That is wild.
That's purely domestic. I don't know about global.
Just domestic.
Who had on their bingo card that Barbie would beat out Mario Brothers?
Now, I will say, in terms of...
I don't have a bingo card.
Let's dig up not older, but like long-running IP that hasn't really had much movie success and just slam it out there. They're both the same thing at that point, right?
Yeah.
So interestingly enough, I'm going to steal a little bit of Andrew's thunder here. Jump ahead.
Oh wow!
I don't like this. Wherever this is going, I don't like it.
Because we're talking box office.
Yeah.
This weekend is one of only 4 to have topped 300 million domestic box office
ever. Yeah.
So that's The Force Awakens for Star Wars.
Yeah.
Infinity War, Endgame, and then Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Barbenheimer.
Which is insane.
What? I get the first 3. I understand that.
It's crazy too because this is mostly organic.
Yeah, no, and this is a marketer's dream.
Organic. Well, like as organic as social media can be.
Well, I mean, like the companies behind both Barbie and Oppenheimer weren't like, this is perfect. We're coming out the same weekend. This is going to be great. This is going to work synergy, you know.
Well, so that's the thing is production companies have been doing this for decades of basically taking 2 polar opposite demographic films and putting them in the same
because you don't steal from each other.
Exactly. You're not cannibalizing on your revenue.
Yeah.
So for both of these films to have such an organic viral kind of push for them where it was just like, oh, this is like a marketer's dream. Like, this is insane.
Oh, yeah. Typically, the approach is, we put the tweens in theaters 3 through 5, and then we put, the hardcore, serious
cinema nerds,
the edgelords or whatever over in cinemas 12 and 13.
Oppenheimer edgelords.
We don't cross the streams. Whereas here, it was like, you should buy both tickets.
We're crossing the streams.
Yeah. Well, again, early on, it was like, 20,000 people have bought double headers, and then 40, and then 50, and then 200,000.
I would say, if nothing else, Oppenheimer probably reaped the benefits.
They benefited from this more than Barbie.
Yes,
because I saw a lot of people in my Barbie showing that definitely probably also went to see Oppenheimer. I didn't see many people in my Barbie showing, other way around. Oppenheimer showing where I was like, that guy's wearing pink, So,
I saw a couple. We had a couple.
But it's definitely like Oppenheimer absolutely gained more from this than Barbie would.
Sure.
Because Barbie was already guaranteed to probably be a success.
It was already going to be like an IP juggernaut.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Well, Oppenheimer is a 3-hour-long historical piece about World War II. And it's not even like the cool part of like we're going to have fighter planes. No, this is just science. Scientists.
I will say that if I weren't doing this podcast and we weren't going to be reviewing both of them, I would have gone to see Oppenheimer for sure, and then probably be like, well, I'll see Barbie when I see it. But because of this, I might have tried to do the double feature in the same weekend because it's kind
of a meme.
It became a thing. Yeah.
Well, it was very much so like the Minions meme, like the wear the suits.
Yeah.
Except the theaters rebelled against that one because apparently the teenagers were terrible or something. I don't know.
Who knows? I think the theaters were terrible.
Or the theaters were also terrible.
Theaters were.
These are fine dressed young men. Let them have their fun.
They dressed up for a night on the town.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get into some opinions on Barbie.
Yeah.
Who wants it?
Andrew, take it.
Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and preface any of my general opinions that may sound... I like the film. I'll just go ahead and point that out.
Oh, we're coming in hot. Well, let's go.
So our theater on Friday night when we went to go see it...
All right, let's talk about conditions at AMC.
Okay. They did not have air conditioning on in our theater.
Well, it's not that hot outside though, right? It's just like 100 degrees.
It's just Alabama in July. No big deal.
So we were I kid you not, just completely sweating the whole time. I went and bought
intense movie.
2 icy Cokes to just
dumped them down your shirt.
Well, I used it as a cooler
and then
on my neck.
Just piled in.
So that definitely soured some of the experience for me.
Sure,
right.
How could it not?
Yeah, but no, I liked the film. I thought it was, it's it took a while to get into the pace of where not where they were going with the film, but the idea of the logic of the film.
Yeah.
Because you're like, okay, going into this as, I'll say, critic or whatever you want to call it, reviewer.
Yeah.
And
That's
immediately
what you claim to be on this, yes.
Yeah, well, immediately you're just like, well, okay, that doesn't make sense. That and like you start like
these
going
don't line
through
up,
the logic brain, and then once you get about halfway through the film, like, okay, this is just nonsense.
Just turn your brain off.
Yeah, it's totally fine. And once you get through that part of it, then it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And the first half was like kind of fun, and then the middle was like, I don't know where this is going. And then they basically like got to like the main like core part of the story and like, this is where it is.
Yeah.
And then it got really, really fun, and I had a lot of good times with it, despite being 85 degrees in the theater.
Right.
Only 85?
I didn't have a thermometer on me, but it was really
hot. Bring one with you to AMC and be like walk up, get your ticket, and be like, if this goes above 80, I demand a refund.
We're gonna add a section of the podcast. Temperature check. In my theater, it was a 74.
Let's get a weather report from Andrew over at the Patton Creek 12.
That's the sound of the fan he brought with him.
But I liked pretty much all the music. That was really fun.
The music was very good.
There are a couple dance numbers that I really enjoyed. Ryan Gosling was hilarious.
Yeah.
Margot Robbie did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fun. It was a ridiculous film. Very like kind of surrealist.
Definitely. Yeah. I think that's a safe. Yeah.
Is the best way I could describe it.
Yeah.
So like if you're going into if you're listening to this before you've seen the film, go into it accepting that there are basically no internal logic in the film.
So I will say
it is very silly.
Yeah.
In some sense, because we complained on here in the past, right, about modern movie trailers where they give it all away at the start.
Yes.
I do think the trailer did enough to tell us, hey, this isn't, well, that and also the fact that it was rated PG-13 told you, hey, it's not just going to be a 4 kids movie.
Yeah.
There's something else going on here.
It's not quite what you think.
But they hid what they were going to do very well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you guys?
So I liked it. I enjoyed it. I thought like you said, the music was really good. I thought the performances were good. I thought the storyline with Barbie's character was really good. I feel like where my complaints come in is that there were a couple of other storylines that it feels like they started and didn't give quite a satisfying ending.
They kind of muddled it all at the end.
The movie did feel like it tried to be like 3 or 4 different things, and it only did like 2 of them really well.
Yeah.
And then the other ones are just kind of like,
They almost get forgotten at the end, and I was like, oh, well, I kind of wanted to see a little more.
I thought we were going somewhere here. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we're before the spoiler wall, so I'm having to be very vague.
Incredibly vague.
Yeah, but it's basically, like there's a couple of storylines I really enjoyed and a couple others that I really wanted to enjoy more, but didn't quite get there. Yeah. Also, and I'll say this, I'm a guy, I didn't, grow up playing with Barbies. My cousins had Barbies. I played, with them or whatever, but I didn't have any.
You had the G.I. Joes that attacked the Barbies.
Yeah, it was He-Man action figures, which, funny fact, the Mattel guy, one of the dudes that was in charge when the He-Man launched was like, we need to make Barbies for boys.
Yeah.
Got to have muscles. And it's
got to have the flowing gold locks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which is great. But my wife loved it. And I think, too, it resonated a lot with her. Not just because she's female, but because I think she played with these toys growing up.
Right. Same for my wife.
And same thing here. So
like she pointed to a couple of things. I can't remember if it was the Playhouse or something. And she's like, I had that growing up. I know what that is. And I was like, is this what it's like to sit next to me in a Marvel movie?
Probably, yes.
Yes.
Man.
You're like, am I this obnoxious?
This blows. No, I gotta dial it back. No, it was pretty funny though, because it was like the one time in a movie where she's leaning over to me to go, actually, so right here, what you're seeing.
So the funny thing is that that's kind of the point of the movie.
It is, yeah. I know. It was so meta. It's coming through the screen. It's in the audience.
Well, and also, I will say there were some things that, again, for me, my wife and I talked about this, where my sister is older enough than me that by the time I was, paying attention to what was going on around me, she'd already grown out of Barbies, right?
Right.
So I never really went through the phase of you go into your sister's room and she's just got, the Playhouse or whatever.
Yeah.
That wasn't around. So I didn't get basically any reference to anything unless they told you on film. So there were a couple of throwaway references. They're just kind of like, okay, what is that? And then Lauren would lean over and be like, oh, it's blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you should talk in the theater.
Yeah, it's gonna be me with the new Ninja Turtles movie, basically.
Yeah. Oh gosh, no,
So Baxter Stockman. Okay, listen.
I feel so bad already thinking about that because it's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
Which also, they had a fantastic trailer. I don't know if y'all
they did have a fantastic trailer,
a theme trailer for it. Yeah.
What did you think about the movie, Steve?
So I love the music. I think the music was really good. I love the big kind of like song and dance numbers that we got in like kind of midway through.
Yeah.
There are a couple other big sequences I think that they pulled off very well. They went hard on set design. We're going to get into that a little bit.
Yes, they did. There was a global pink shortage.
That's
pink paint shortage.
Actually, okay,
COVID.
We're gonna pull. We're gonna
supply
pull the
chain.
Band-Aid.
No, they just had so much pink paint. They used so much for the dream house.
Well, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna pull the Band-Aid on trivia here.
Yeah.
So much fluorescent pink was used in set design from the company Roscoe that it used up all the paint the company had available due to COVID-19 shortages.
Yeah.
So there was an interview with one of the production managers or whatnot who said, "Oh, we caused the shortage," and then
it's like, well,
a vice president from the company was like, no, we were already in a shortage. You just took everything we had.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a potato.
It's a misnomer.
Yeah. But they ran the company out of what they had, basically. They used a lot of pink. And the sets were all practical. Like
they're all practical sets.
That cul-de-sac was built, and they could stand in it and walk through it. We watched a little behind-the-scenes snippet of kind of Margot going through and showing off like
which was really fun.
The way the stickers were done for like the refrigerator or whatever, so it would look like it was part of the dream house.
I'm realizing now that both of these movies feature a lot of practical.
Oh no,
it's weird.
That is weird.
It's funny how they came together like that because they went very hard on practical effects.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the reasons why I think these, particularly Barbie, did such a good job. Is like when you have like it's already kind of a weird thing to make a Barbie movie, right?
Right.
You need to be as weird as possible and as tactile as possible to make it feel
it's like Pee-wee's Playhouse, right?
Yeah.
Like if you had that show now and it was all CGI, it would be a horror show. Right. Whereas it being physically there makes it a little real enough that you're just kind of like, okay, I can accept it. And I think it's the same thing here, where if you had them prancing around in these just CGI dream houses and whatever, like the tree house,
and you know,
like, what's going on?
If they had made this around like 2010,
oh, God.
It would have been just CG
bad.
everything. It would have been terrible. Yeah.
So fun fact there. This movie was announced in 2009.
Oh no!
Really?
Oh yes. Wow. Oh, we're gonna again.
That's gonna be past the spoiler wall. So okay,
is it okay? It can be past the spoiler wall.
Yeah.
All right. We'll make them wait for it.
Sure.
So, I agree with Ryan where I felt like it had had a handful of storylines running. And then at the end of the movie, we really only kind of stuck the landing on one or two.
And it was juggling a lot of balls, and then they only caught one.
Well, it wasn't even they caught it. It was like they were juggling a bunch, and then like they just kind of like waved their hand at you, and then they only had one. And you're like, oh,
yeah,
okay. And like, hey, I did it, I landed it. Like, wait, hold on.
But the one that landed was really satisfying.
It was, yeah. But it was kind of funny. I was just kind of like, okay, they got a lot going on here. This is like a sub 2 hour movie. How are we gonna? Oh, we're just not. Okay.
God.
All right, well. All right, so question for you then.
Yeah.
Would you recommend? Would you rewatch?
I would definitely want to rewatch this because my viewing experience was
you got baked, yeah.
Yeah.
I would recommend this, I think, with a caveat of like, number one, I think obviously if you grew up and you played with Barbies, you're going to love this movie.
But you need to be a grown-up.
Right.
Not for kids. This is definitely for probably kids that are older than 14.
Well, it's PG-13. It's a PG-13 film, so that
even
fits.
then, 13.
That's pushing it. You almost need to be an upper teenager.
I'd take a 6-year-old to this in a heartbeat.
So
get out of here.
Funnily enough, my niece.
I had several in my audience.
I'll say we did too, and I think several of them were really bored. My niece is 7, and my sister's been debating because, of course, she's got the Barbie. She's beating my sister up about going to go see this. They went to go see Little Mermaid, and the little photo booth was out. And of course, my sister's like, they want to take a photo, and it's like I can't.
7-year-olds don't probably have a good concept of existential dread.
Oh no, they don't. So
talk to me when I was 7, buddy.
I text her after the film. Was like, so it's not a kids movie. It's like she's gonna be super. You might like it. She's gonna be super bored.
Yeah.
So that was definitely
that's almost the bigger consideration to me, because like kids can handle all sorts of stuff. Like,
or it just goes over their head. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, they don't care. It's the where's the next dance number? I'm bored.
Like give me some glitter.
There's only 2 dance numbers.
Yeah.
Right. I would also say that like I have some coworkers who are like very macho boys who like were like, I'm never gonna go see Barbie. I wouldn't recommend it to them because I don't think there's anything in this movie that would win them over. Like if this movie had been absolutely hilarious, like I'm talking like a Will Ferrell early 2000s comedy level of just like spit your drink out, laugh.
And there are some good moments, but it's definitely on that level.
Right, yeah. So if it had been just a absolutely hilarious comedy, I would recommend it to them and be like, oh, you got to check out this Barbie movie. It's definitely not that. So if you're holding out on watching it thinking like maybe it's just a really funny comedy, it's got funny moments, but I wouldn't classify it as like
I don't think I would call it a comedy, really.
It's on the
humor,
line,
but it's
like I said, it
has a lot of humor.
It straddles a lot of. It tries to balance a lot of plates.
Yeah.
Because you're doing so much, I think that some of it does get lost in there, and the part of the comedy is lost in there if you're not in on the joke, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, no, that does.
Yeah, I think for me, again, when we hit all the caveats here on would you recommend it, but for me, in terms of a rewatch, I don't think I'm going to go see the film again, but I do think there are certain sequences in this that I'm going to pull up from time to time and rewatch.
Yeah,
some of the 2 dance numbers are definitely worth rewatching.
They're really fun.
There's some other that I can't even tell you what they are because they're technically spoilers, but there's some other sequences that occur that are well worth more than one watch just for deep
I feel like if this was on Netflix or something, I would pop it on.
Probably.
But I definitely want to rewatch it just so I could hopefully have a better experience.
So you got cooked in Barbie and Ryan got cooked in Oppenheimer.
I would guess my temperature in Oppenheimer for a temp check was probably 90 degrees. I don't know.
I mean, that is a pretty hot film.
It is. I mean, they were running. I saw it in
the 4D experience.
Film. Yeah, it was the 4D experience.
You were in New Mexico.
I was in New Mexico in our theater.
Just the one day in New Mexico with real humidity.
But yeah, so the theaters around Birmingham had a really rough weekend, despite being one of the busiest weekends in existence.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it really showed with a lot of their...
I don't know what y'all are talking about. I had a great time in both my theaters.
I had a great time.
Y'all should choose better.
We went to the same theaters.
We went to the same ones.
We did.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go spoiler wall right now for Barbie.
This is it. Turn back now if you don't want to be spoiled.
Yep, that's it. Okay, there's spoiler
You've been warned.
Done.
All right, we're here.
Hit us with some trivia.
Here we go. Me. That's my job.
It's you.
Let's back up to that 2009 announcement. So the project has gone through multiple iterations, and it's actually been a property of 3 different studios in that process.
Wow.
That does not surprise
me.
So
at one point in time, this belonged to Universal Pictures.
Okay.
Then it moved to Sony.
Okay.
And then it ended up in Warner Brothers' hands. So throughout all of that, neither Greta nor Margot had been tapped as their main. Like they went through a bunch of directors, bunch of writers, all kinds of concepts. At one point, Anne Hathaway was going to be the lead role.
Oh wow, interesting.
She's
too serious.
Yeah, I think so. In another dimension, Amy Schumer was going to be the lead role.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's all over the place. But we got there.
Went through the multiverse and back.
It really did, yeah. I mean,
so I know Margot Robbie has her own production company. Was it involved in this?
It was.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it was.
Is maybe that what like turned the corner on it actually getting made? Maybe.
I'm not sure. I don't know what final. I think really it ended up in Sony's hands, and Sony sat on it for a long time until literally their like time period expired.
And then they were just like, I don't know.
And then Warner Brothers was like, hey,
I guess we'll take it.
Look what I found.
Yeah.
So, and I imagine too, it wasn't listed, but also like trying to work with a company like Mattel with they're like basically name brand product. Like this is a core business.
Mattel is very much clutch the pearls, like
versus Hasbro. That's like, do another Transformers movie. I don't care.
Burn it down.
Yeah, because Mattel is very protective of their IPs.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Ryan Gosling accepted the role of Ken after seeing his daughter's Ken doll left lying face down in the mud. he took a photo of it and sent it to Greta Gerwig saying,
I'm in.
No, what he said is ridiculous. I shall be your kin. His story must be told. Calm down, Ryan. Calm down.
So Ryan has gone through like the whole media junket for promoting Barbie and everything like that before the writer's strike or the actor's strike.
Yeah.
Basically being himself from the film, and it is reading some of some of the transcripts from the interviews is insane because he just spouts absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
That's
amazing. He's still method acting. Legend has it he's method acting this very day.
He got a taste of the himbo, and now he
can't put it down.
You got a taste of the himbo. That should be a T-shirt. TM.
So Mark Ronson wrote the song "I'm Just Ken." Or sorry, Mark Robson. I don't know why it autocorrected me.
Ronson.
Right
come in here. It sounds like a latex salesman.
Well, now it makes me wonder which one it autocorrected. I'm worried about that. But anyways, so the song "I'm Just Ken" was written mostly as a joke. And he did record a demo for Gerwig, not expecting it to be included.
Oh, that's great.
But she liked the song, and then she shared it with Ryan.
Oh, Ryan probably ate it.
Oh, sure.
He pushed hard. He's like, this has to be a musical number in the film.
Yeah.
Right? And Mark, the creator of it, said that the spin Ryan put on the song put way more into it than he ever intended there to be in the song.
That's great.
So I think that whole process is pretty amazing and kind of almost reflects the movie in itself, where it's kind of like at face value. If you just wrote it on a sheet of paper and put it in front of somebody, like, okay. Yeah. And then once the actors got there, they put so much of themselves into this.
Yeah, well,
I think it really paid off.
Because I know Ryan, he used to be Mickey Mouse Club.
Back in 1989.
89,
He's
baby.
so much older than I always expect him to be.
Yeah, he looks great for his age.
He looks great for his age.
He looks
way better than me, like at any age, obviously. But like,
I mean, did you see those
That's why
six
he's
pack?
an actor.
I mean, okay, I've got the same six pack. I'm just saying, like, I got more wrinkles in the face. That's all. Don't Google pictures of me. Just believe this and move forward.
So Margot Robbie specifically requested the slide down to the pool.
Okay, cool.
So that was not originally meant to be
on every movie she's on, and this is the first one
she's put that every writer.
I mean, let's be real
slide
here.
to the pool, and Grant is the first one who looked at it. I was like, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
Let's be real here, though. She's just Barbie in real life.
She really is.
So it's funny. There's like an interview from, I think it's like 2 or 3 years ago, where like, or maybe it's longer than that, where her and I think it's Leo DiCaprio were doing a junket, and he suggested
for
like,
Wolf of Wall Street.
You could no, it was after that.
Okay.
It was Brad Pitt and her for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Okay, gotcha, yeah.
And he said something about her being Barbie. She goes, Barbie? Never. I couldn't. Look at right there. And it's like, LOL, hold on.
Hey, guess what happens when you get paid?
Yeah.
Well, she also grew up playing with Barbies and was a big fan going into this, which I'm sure helped as well.
It does, because you need to be passionate about the stuff that you
She
do.
had a lot, like that. Watching that little behind-the-scenes clip, she had a lot of enthusiasm for what was being done.
And all of her, the whole media push for marketing for them, every appearance that she did, she had a new Barbie outfit.
Oh yeah,
which is pretty incredible.
That basically matched stuff that was actually made for the dolls.
She also went through 18 different wigs for this movie.
Wow,
that's crazy.
That's a lot of hair.
That's actually a lot of hair.
That is a lot of hair. That's like a Cousin It worth of Barbie wigs.
They should just pile them all up at the end of production.
So we're still technically in trivia, but we need to talk about Spectacle.
Do Spectacle right now. And we're there basically. Let's hear it.
The set design was great.
Yeah,
set design was great. Set design was great too.
Design was also spectacular.
The what?
Costume design.
Yes.
Yeah, costume design, set design.
I think sequences.
Those two parts of it were what were like
sold it.
They sold
real.
it.
Yeah. The little sequence of traveling from Barbie Land to the real world.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah,
killed me.
Yeah, those were great.
Well, and then going back and then back again.
Yeah. I think all of that was great. The only really gripe I have, and it's kind of minor, is just from like the cinematography of the things that weren't being like a musical number or weren't a transitional, between the worlds, was pretty basic. They didn't really do anything that was like...
There wasn't anything groundbreaking.
Whoa,
put the camera on them and let it roll.
For some reason, I don't know why, this is probably my own problem. Like, I expected them to get weirder with it, with the camera angles and the cinematography of it, but they didn't have to. I guess it was it
was already weird.
The scenery,
it was already so like with the whole like she pours nothing into a cup and then holds the cup over her head to drink it, like how a kid would do it, or like the floating to the bottom floor because the dream house has no stairs. You're just expected to carry the Barbie down.
Yeah.
The other thing that I found I was sad that they never did once was like a tilt shift style.
Oh yeah,
to make them kind of look like models or whatever.
Yeah, or like little miniatures. That'd be fun. But honestly, like the set design is what got me. Like it's just so cool seeing everything like so there.
I mean, it went
and like
so
physical.
hard on it it had some elements of kind of like a stage production with like the way they did like the waves, and the people would come up behind the waves and then go back down.
Yeah.
I think they did phenomenally there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Everything that was like practically made, like all the sets. Once we get into the real world, it was fine.
It kind of falls.
Los Angeles.
It kind of falls apart a little bit during a very random car chase that probably didn't need to happen.
Well, it's more like, I don't know. It felt more generic when it came into the real world.
It did.
It's kind of like...
Well, yeah, because you lose, obviously. I mean,
you obviously lose.
That's obviously the point, too,
well, I
right?
struggled, and this is kind of silly, but I actually struggled just to peg, like, what year is this supposed to be? Because they had, like, a thing with, like, Bill Clinton on it. I was like, okay, it's, like, late 90s, maybe. And then she's in, like, a electric vehicle hitting the power boost button or whatever. And I was like, okay, it's not. It's, like, modern times, but, like...
Maybe Bill Clinton's just out there in L.A.
Forever. Yeah. Well, no, it was like
there's the Bill Clinton Museum in Los Angeles. Everyone knows this.
Come on now. But like, it's just certain bits like that where you would expect in a modern time, like if they're going down.
It just threw you a curveball with the Bill Clinton, really, right?
Well, but also like if you're dressed like that, skating down Venice Beach. People are taking out their phones and taking photos of you.
I don't know. There's a lot of hipsters in Venice.
Well, there's just a lot of weird, but then again, if you say modern time,
horrible men,
apparently, but also like it's in modern time.
That's everywhere, Andrew. Didn't you watch the movie?
Gosh,
I mean, it kind of does.
But like with retro being in, that would also be something that people would be like, "Oh, that's so cool," as opposed to like make fun of it. You know, like, it's one of those things where I could not place the time. Like if that's late '90s and you showed up like that, everybody'd be like, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah, but I mean, like, man, if I saw someone rolling down the beach with that, I'm like, heck yeah, like, this is so cool.
Break out your own blades.
Yeah, what a commitment to Venice Beach, right?
Yeah. What kind of wheels you got on there? Start talking shop.
Andrew's already out there in his tank top. He's like, yeah, I can do this.
I'm always ready. I got the skates in the back of the car, baby.
In the back of the car.
All right, let's move forward.
We must.
To performance.
Yep.
Who wants to kick it off? I'll kick it off.
Go for it.
Do it.
I thought Margot did great. I think it's definitely her movie. Obviously, it's Barbie.
Yeah.
But I think she genuinely did a really good job. Like she captures the naivete early in it, with Barbie just doing her thing. She has that bubbly personality, and then she has she can convey so much. She has a very expressive face.
She does,
right? And I've known this about her in a bunch of the movies she's been in, but in this one especially, you get to see that transformation from like happy to wait, what's going on? What's happening? And then into dealing with it and being sad and doing that side of the story. I think she did that really well.
Her moment when she's sitting on the bench after she gets torn apart by the kid.
Oh, I can't think of her
name.
Teenager. And
daughter.
she's sitting on the bench and she's talking with the old lady. I thought that moment was phenomenal.
So I saw an article that they wanted to cut that scene. And Greta Gerwig was like, absolutely not.
No, that's like, I mean, one is key to the character, but like, I thought it was great.
Yeah. Obviously, I mean, Ryan Gosling steals a lot of the show with the comedic moments. I think he brings a lot of levity to the early parts of the proceedings. I really thought the rest of it too.
He got a lot of the fun parts.
He did, yeah.
Where you just get to be just go out there and be a goofball. It'd be fine.
And I got to shout,
go out there and be an idiot.
Also,
And I think I loved every line that Michael Cera had as Alan.
Oh man, gosh!
I love Michael Cera across the board. And when I saw him in the trailer as Alan, I was like, yes.
Like, he fits that character so well.
He does.
The Corvette turns around. I'm never getting out of here.
Yeah. He starts just beating up all the construction workers.
This is my time.
Yeah.
When do they figure out how to make that wall stop going up?
I know. They're just stacking the bricks.
So the one thing I'll say is I felt that Will Ferrell was vastly underutilized.
I'd go in with that. Yeah.
Absolutely wasted in the last third of the film because he just wasn't there.
Yeah. Well, because like, I mean, I love him as a comedian, and he really brings this level of madcap, like insane comedy that I feel that like maybe his part just wasn't written to be that kind of character.
It felt a little sterile for a Will Ferrell part. Yeah. And I don't want to say he phoned it in because I'm not sure. But it's like if he had brought the same energy as like Buddy the Elf or like any of his like...
I feel like he had good energy. It's just...
I just don't think he's not
the main character, and then also he wasn't there for large stretches, so it just didn't carry through, you know?
It still should have been like there's a movie, it's called The Goods. It's about car salesmen. It's very random, and you've never probably seen it. But he has like a couple of cameos in it, just like quick. And they are the most memorable scenes in the movie by far because he just sold it 1,000%. And
well, it's kind of like Wedding Crashers, where he's not even in the movie until like literally the end. And then those scenes are always what I remember from that movie.
So I kind of wish he had done that in this movie of like, he's only in it for like 3 scenes.
Instead of carrying through and popping up as the movie goes.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So for me, I got to shout out Simu Liu.
Yeah.
Break it out, showing off his chops as a former backup dancer.
Oh, yeah.
Breaking out the dance moves.
You can't do a backflip.
And then also Rhea Perlman.
Oh, that was such a treat.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like I used to watch Cheers religiously.
Right? Every time I see her, I'm like, yeah, let's go. And like she had a really touching role, like a very poignant thing to do in this movie, and it hit, right?
It did.
And even just the bit where Barbie comes into her office in the building, and it's kind of that moment of we have like an extra layer of surrealism on top of everything else going on, but it's very calm and sincere, and like something else is going on here, but they don't tell you. Like I love seeing her in this film.
Yeah, I thought that her performance was really good on that part. I think I would have wished for like Will Ferrell at the end when he was like, that's the ghost.
She's the ghost.
Yeah. I wish he'd have been like, that's the ghost that lives on. Like, if he would have played it up
terrifying
more.
Or something.
Yeah.
Or just they're like, well, who is that? It's like, oh no.
Yeah. I also thought like America Ferrera did really good.
Yeah, I was about to bring her up.
She's the mom.
Yeah, her speech to kind of turn everyone back into
like just undo the brainwashing.
Deep
from the patriarchy.
I thought that was pretty fantastic.
See, that part, I didn't think that part was really her high point. Her high point was the interactions and kind of the reveal of through the time with her daughter and how that hit, which that's also somewhat plot. But I think those bits were like her just on point. Because those points hit.
Yeah. No, I mean, she did really good. I mean, like, I don't think anyone really did bad in this.
Well, I feel like basically everyone got into this and they committed to it, right? Like this is the kind of production where if Bill Murray walks in and it's just like, I'm getting paid, and then Harrison Ford comes and also getting paid, this film would not work, right?
I really liked Kate McKinnon's character. She's
Weird Barbie.
She just had like this insane energy, and very dry humor, which was I love that kind of
it worked really well opposite Barbie, like Margot Robbie's character. Like that, you need that kind. You can't have two people who are both that kind of insane on screen. Right, it doesn't work.
But why did you give me 2 choices? There's only one choice. Yes, I know. I wanted to give you some agency.
I wanted to let you have some freedom.
I wanted you to think there was agency.
So, fun fact with her, all of her splits are not her doing it.
No, of course not.
It's done fake. So it's basically she steps and slides her. There's just holes in set. Yeah. There's a fake leg. I thought that was funny just because like the set's also a death trap because if you step in Kate's hole,
I don't want to do the splits.
Also, another fun bit when they were really committed to like, hey, we want this to be like original Barbie. So original Barbie,
stereotypical Barbie.
Her no, that's not what I'm going for. Oh. Like OG Barbies.
Yeah,
their fingers are not separate. They're a paddle. They're one hand.
Yeah.
So they were trying to make all the actors do that.
Oh.
And they could not keep it up. Kate, though, apparently was flawless. She never messed that up. And then they were like, we just can't do this.
Yeah. She's like, what are you guys talking about?
She's a method actor. She glued them all together.
Like I glued them together like a week ago. What the heck? Cooking dinner's been so hard. All right, let's jump forward here.
Yeah.
A little score?
Score of the score.
Score of the score. A lot of good music in this.
There is.
I really liked the Lizzo song at the beginning.
The intro.
The Dance the Night.
Well, but also the flip side to Lizzo's intro.
Oh, yeah, it was super fun.
The Barbie thinks about death, and then it's like, well, now she has to sleep at night, and now what is her morning like? I think playing with that for both a storytelling and also it's just a good song was really fun.
Yeah. I think, too, like, the score outside of the music was fine.
Yeah, it was okay.
Fine. But it's like the high points were...
That's not what you're here for.
No, and that's not even a knock. It's just saying it out loud of like, there's there's functional score here and there, and like some like the chase scene and stuff like that.
No, we're here for Dance the Night and Pink and I'm Just Ken.
I'm Just Ken.
Yeah. Speaking of...
a little bit.
Which I didn't know that there was going to be like a Ken musical number in there, and I was so excited.
Well, it's very much so kind of like the Frozen 2.
Yeah.
With the hair
Kristoff?
Yeah, like the hair metal. Also, like, he commits to this.
He's a great singer if you've ever seen La La Land.
Apparently, I've never seen it.
I need to watch it. I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's fantastic.
If I get more of this, I'll watch it in a heartbeat.
Well, he's got to be wearing the fur.
Oh, man, the Rocky 3 coat? So good.
But I like... Yeah, that like feather coat that he has or fur coat is just with the headband. Man, that is a look.
It is. It's powerful.
It really is.
I can't stress this enough, so I don't want you guys to try it. You have to have those abs in order for that to work. Okay.
I thank you for letting me know. Ryan.
Yeah, just the warning before we make
just letting you know.
Mistake.
Yeah, like I see the news alert. Oh no, man arrested. It's Andrew. He tried it without the abs. Oh God, I warned him.
Well, so the thing I like about that song is it goes through like 3 different genres.
Right. Yeah.
Which is really, really fun because like obviously the music or like the musical number actually changes, you know, to like the way they're dancing and like everything like that, which is really fun. And I really like that they did just a whole musical number like of just guys.
Yeah, well, like, honestly, I had kind of a moment in the middle of the film where I was like, wait a minute, are we just going to, like, make Ryan Gosling the main character now? Like, what is going on here?
What is happening here?
This is a very main character song.
Well, I think, but that's kind of the point, though.
Well, I mean, it is also kind of the reflection of, you know, it's Barbie and Ken.
Yeah.
And, you know, like we said, Ryan Gosling's daughter's Ken is just face down in the mud, forgotten, you know.
Well, you know, not every...
Just an accessory.
Well, not every night is girls' night.
I saw him on one of the... it's Brewski's night.
Brewski's night. Every night's Brewski's night. Get out of here, Andrew.
press junkets or whatever. He was talking about how his daughter... They don't even call it Ken or call him Ken in their house. It's like Jerry or something. He's got like this different name. And I was like, wow. And he's like, so I think he saw the disrespect that Ken gets. And he's like, I got to play this guy.
I gotta pull through here.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, we want to talk a little about plot?
Sure.
Let's go into the plot.
Whatever plot there is.
There's plot there.
No, there is.
Yeah. There are,
the message is there.
There are pieces of plot. The
everywhere.
Connections between them are very tenuous.
They are, but like I think for me, it doesn't have to be that.
It doesn't have to
cohesive for a Barbie movie.
Yeah, like I said earlier before the spoiler wall, I went in expecting internal logic. By the time I realized that there was no internal logic and it was just total nonsense, it was totally fine. Like, I think that, like, right around the Scooby-Doo running through the hallways moment, I was like, okay, this is
turn it off.
Yeah, there's nothing else here that I need to worry about. Yeah. So I'm just going to enjoy the film.
See, I went in with it off. I never at any point was like, this is going to be any more than Scooby-Doo.
So this is the thing is, going into it, it felt like I was watching a non-Christmas Elf.
Okay.
Like the movie Elf.
But not about based on Christmas. Yeah.
So, like, that movie is very internal logic correct, like with itself.
Because they have like the rules.
Yeah. There's a lot of like rules and stuff like that. So I was expecting a film like that going into it.
Where it's still
like there is a very specific way
cohesive.
To get.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then by the time you get to about the halfway point, you're like, okay, none of this makes sense. It doesn't matter.
Well, once
how do we get to Barbie Land? Just reverse it. Don't overthink it.
Yeah. Once we started to realize like it's these characters, like the Barbies go through changes based on how like the kids play with them. And it's like, well, here's weird Barbies. Like, I hate to break it to you, but like 3/4 of you are in that shape. There are so many Barbies. That
if it was an actual just distribution of like the Barbies on Earth, it would have been like there would have been a whole island of like weird Barbies.
It'd just be like Sid's bedroom from Toy Story.
Yeah.
Because if that works, then like Sid's doing this, and there's just in Barbie Land, there's just the 8-legged Barbie going around.
Oh my god!
God, just. But yeah, so like once I got past that, I was the brain was off, and I was like, "This is fun."
Well, and like Ryan said, they just do it in reverse. Don't overthink it, right? They put it out there of like, don't worry about that too much. Just let it happen.
For me, it was like, so I really liked Barbie's arc. Right, like the arc she carries, and obviously it's her movie, so that's like the most important thing to stick the landing on, and they did.
Yeah,
I liked the family arc, with America Ferrera. I can't remember her character's name or the kid's name, but like the mom and daughter, I liked that arc also.
Gloria and Sasha.
Oh yeah, Gloria and Sasha. I liked their.
I would have been wrong on that. Oh, fun fact on that: America Ferrera's husband in this movie is played by her husband.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently that's her actual husband.
That's pretty fun.
I mean, it's not like he had to do a whole lot.
Duolingo on the couch or whatever. He's fine. So for me, where the plot, I guess, kind of fell apart. It didn't fall apart. It didn't do enough.
Dead-ended.
Is Ken's story. So like Ken, has this like realization when he comes to the real world that like the patriarchy exists, and like here men are treated like
men can
whatever.
Do things, yeah.
And then like he goes through all he goes back to Barbie Land's gonna turn it into what was it? It wasn't Kinland.
Kingdom.
Yeah, Kingdom. And he starts doing all that stuff, and I was like, okay, so we're getting into like some like psychological stuff of like a lot of men have hangups with like incel stuff. Yeah. And I was like, okay, so how are we gonna resolve it? And then she's like, just be yourself. And he's like, cool. And then that's it. And I'm like, what? I kind of thought there'd be like, at least he'd get a horse or a farm or like, because he was so obsessed with horses. I was waiting to see this guy have a whole stable of horses.
I loved his line. He was like, when I realized that the patriarchy wasn't just about horses? I kind of lost interest.
Yeah. Right. Like that line's perfect to like the ending scene should have been him on a horse, riding it, like waving at everybody or something. I just felt like that storyline with him ended. And then the storyline with all the Kens kind of ended with like, all right, well, you guys are still just second-class citizens. Have fun over here. Like it's back to Barbie Land. And I was like, that feels weird. It feels like the ending message should have been tweaked a little bit so at least gives them a little more closure.
See, I really thought the way we were headed was, we start with Barbie Land as the female dominated, and we have the real world, the male dominated.
Yeah.
And then Ken goes to the real world, brings the male dominated back. Now we have male dominant and male dominant. I thought there was gonna be some level of like equality or something like that. But at the end of the day,
or an inverse where the real world all of a sudden becomes female dominant, and Will Ferrell doesn't like that, and that's why he tries to change it. I also
thought he was going to be more of a villain, where he was like, you don't know what kind of crazy things can happen, and like it's like I don't know, Hillary Clinton's being elected president. I don't know, something like that. And like he's like, we can't have that. We have to go fix it. That kind of thing. And then he's kind of like the villain, but there wasn't really a villain.
Ken was the villain.
I mean, Ken
no, actually, patriarchy was the villain.
It was. Yeah. Let's step back and look at it overall.
Yeah.
It's the real villain.
But yeah, it just kind of felt messy the way they kind of resolved that, where it just kind of stopped. He's like, oh, okay, cool. And it's like, okay.
I mean, he got to slide down his slide.
And that's Barbie's slide.
Well, yeah, but that is Barbie's slide, and that's also not his house.
That brought up, that was the problem too. And like you're talking about, like you have to abandon like internal logic and stuff. I was like, I had this moment where I was like, wait, where do all the Kens live?
On the beach?
Are they homeless? Are they just standing in the woods waiting for Barbie to wake up?
That was one of the 1-star reviews that I saw, where it's just like, so apparently kids are just homeless?
I had a moment where I was like, no wonder he's losing his mind. He has a house for the first time.
But yeah, that's the thing is like once you get to that point, like you just don't think about it.
Right. Yeah.
There's no reason.
I'm kind of reaching for like some critique here. Cause again, I think the Barbie storyline and her thing, they nailed it. And again, the mother-daughter relationship was good. So like all that I thought worked really well. It was just the other stuff like the humor and the comedy, the way it was written, had a lot of funny lines. Like with Alan, with it, as soon as they figure out how to stop building that wall up,
or like
that was great.
Or like when they grab the first Barbie to deprogram, and he tries to like go over the fence, and then he gets the chair, and he can't get over like that, and he has to go around. Like, and that's all just happening in the back. It's not the main focus. It's just not even the background. Like, that's really well done. It's just it wasn't consistent throughout. It didn't like track throughout.
And that's why I wouldn't say it was a hilarious movie. It had even like hilarious moments.
Yeah, it had some great moments, but it didn't stay consistent. It was, kind of up and down for the laughs per minute, if we're using a metric, I guess.
Yeah. LPM?
LPM, yeah.
A little LPM.
Let's get that in there.
So
speaking of LPM, do we want to talk about entertainment, or are we still on plot?
Let's go into entertainment.
All right.
So probably my favorite part of the whole film was right before the big Ken music number. Is basically all of the women or Barbies going through and coaxing the Kens into mansplaining, like whatever, like Photoshop, and I haven't seen The Godfather.
I know. Also, like the dude playing. There's always that one dude with the guitar, and he only knows one song. Yep. And it's like, no, all of them are like this. Oh my gosh, this is miserable.
It's just Matchbox 20 in stereo. Oh god.
I thought it was phenomenal. I was laughing so much because one, it's unfortunately very true.
Well, I had this moment when we got out of the movie. I was like, man, I really want to have beers with the guy and watch The Godfather.
You're the problem.
I kind of want to do all these things, but I was like, they're portraying all this stuff as like super toxic. I'm like, is watching The Godfather? I guess mansplaining The Godfather is toxic. Okay, yeah.
Well, the real key here is you watch the movie from the start. You never shut up during it, right?
Right. Yeah.
This is the chance for us to Patreon plug commentaries, but I'm not gonna do it.
You're not gonna do it. Okay.
No, I'm not gonna do it.
Well, you just did. But
we'll save it for the end. Yeah, it's there. It exists. But so for me, I think the Ken Beach battle.
Oh, it was fantastic.
That was really good. Especially because they committed to like the whole where it was like, well, how does one Ken defeat the other in battle? It's like by being more Ken, and like they end up like pulling their vests back and just like facing up each other's chest, and it sparkles. And the other kids are just like, if I only could have this much sparkle.
They had the Dragon Ball Z face off.
It was Dragon Ball Z.
Which was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because and I loved how they treated it like it was like D-Day for when they're coming up, and it's like all in slow motion, and they're all the Kens are falling.
They're like hitting the beaches, and they're just getting mowed down, like Saving Private Ryan over here.
He takes that one sticky arrow out of the one guy and stabs another guy with it. Yeah.
That's a classic Legolas move right there. 2 towers.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no, I thought it was great.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun. I was entertained in this movie for sure. It definitely wasn't what I expected.
No, it wasn't what I expected.
I saw like the first trailer and I was like, okay, this is going to be something more.
Well, I knew from the kickoff with the whole like 2001 trailer, I was like, okay, so this is going to be weird. Mm-hmm. I will say one thing I didn't expect was for there to just be a narrator.
Yeah,
I don't know why that threw me.
Helen Mirren as the
narrator
was
great choice, right? Yes. If you can't get Morgan Freeman, Helen Mirren's a great choice, especially for a female-centric film, right?
Oh, for sure.
But at the same time, when she just started talking, I was like, why is there a narrator?
Well, I love the that's kind of like Elf. Like, it's that same kind of vibe that I got whenever I went in. I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to be kind of like that. Yeah. And obviously it was kind of like that, but then not. But I did love the line whenever Barbie or Margot Robbie is...
Oh, she's like breaking down.
She's breaking down and she's like, I'm so ugly. And then they're like...
The narrator.
It's like, we understand that this does not make any sense with her as the actor.
If you wanted this line to make... note to the editors, if you wanted this line to make sense, you shouldn't have cast Margot Robbie. Something like that.
I think, too, I was like... I thought a fun scene that could have happened that didn't, but this is what I kind of expected the movie to be. I thought we were going to have like Barbie Land, and you see her doing stuff, and it cuts to girls in a room like
doing the same thing.
Yeah. And then when Barbie starts thinking about like death and existential dread, it cuts, and the little girl's like, "And what about death?" And all the other little girls look at her, and she's like, like it almost like becomes a very meta thing.
That would have been good. I also, with your whole idea of Ken having a stable. I mean, like, they make horses in Barbie, right? And like, the static legs. If they had one of those go by with
just
him on
plastic
it,
horse.
where it's like just back and forth.
Or it's just dragging across the plastic.
I mean, they did it with all the other vehicles. Why not,
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it does kind of sound like we're running down here. We're running out of time.
Yeah.
And it is not all the time we have for this episode, but it is all the time we have for this half of the episode.
So are you ready for a chain reaction of content that you cannot stop? It could possibly ignite the atmosphere or set the social media on fire.
Oh my gosh.
There's a lot of people that would like to set social media on fire.
But yeah, so we have...
Elon Musk is trying really hard.
Oh, no.
Gosh, too topical.
Get that out of here.
All right, get it out of here.
So we have a website, spoilersintendedpodcast.com, that you can go to right now and get access to all of our content that we have, episodes that have come out in the past, ones that are coming up soon, all that kind of fun stuff. We have social media. With only 2. We have Facebook and Twitter. X, I guess. Wow, that's
Not
weird
Twitter.
to say.
You tried,
Don't
though.
say that.
You tried.
We also have a Discord.
We do have a Discord. In fact, you can go and join that from a link on spoilersintendedpodcast.com. Join in the conversation with us. Hang out. Have some fun. Talk about what you're cooking. Show us. I want to see photos of your pets.
Yes.
Doing cool, cute things.
Give us the pets.
I'm here for some dog photos, some cat photos, some lizard photos. I don't care. You got some fish. I want to see them. But we also have, what are you cooking, your hobbies, all kinds of great stuff in there. We talk about current films, TV, not just stuff that's on the cast. A lot of good discussion in there.
Yeah, and we also have social media. We've said it, but we'll say it again. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Not Twitter X.
Not Twitter.
Not Twitter X.
Yeah. So topical right now. Just date this episode, please.
All right, and we are back from the first half of Barbenheimer.
Not from the spoiler wall.
Not from the spoiler wall, because there are going to be no spoilers for Oppenheimer for a little bit, and then we'll do another spoiler wall. It's so confusing because this is totally out of order.
We have like a spoiler wall airlock right now.
So if you basically started the episode and then skipped ahead, we are Spoilers Intended.
Yes.
I'm Andrew, joined as always by Steven.
Hello there.
And Ryan.
Hello, I'm splitting my atoms right now.
We've reached critical mass.
But yeah, so this week we are talking about Barbenheimer, but specifically this half of the episode, we are talking about the historical biopic Oppenheimer, directed by Christopher Nolan, starring Cillian Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., Emily Blunt, and Matt Damon.
It's Cillian Murphy.
Cillian.
Is it
People
Cillian?
get very mad when you say silly.
Yes.
Oh, Cillian Murphy. I'm sorry.
Cillian,
I got corrected hard about that.
I am so sorry.
Cillian. He's Irish.
Ah, yes. But yeah, so yeah, we're going to be talking about Oppenheimer. We are not going to have an opening topic because we've already pretty much had that.
Our opening topic was Barbie.
Yep. But yeah, so
give us a plot summary.
Yes, let me change.
Be better prepared.
I was prepared, and then we were talking about an entire other movie. Thank you very much. All right. During World War II, Lieutenant General Leslie Groves Jr. appoints physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer to work on the top-secret Manhattan Project. Oppenheimer and a team of scientists spend years developing and designing the atomic bomb. Their work comes to fruition on July 16th, 1945, as they witness the world's first nuclear explosion, forever changing the course of history. So this is not fiction. This is
this is
factual fact.
Yeah, and the author of American Prometheus, which is the book that this is based on, saw it and said the movie is very historically accurate.
Yeah, Martin Sherwin is the author, and the book is essentially like, I'm not going to say hearsay. It is just a lot of information that was taken from third-party people to build out Oppenheimer's life, the actual story, and legacy.
Yeah.
And so you should go and check it out. My wife is currently reading it. She says it's absolutely fantastic.
Technically, it's not hearsay because we're not in a court of law.
Well,
yet.
Third party.
Yet. When they're playing this in court and we're all sitting there with our head down.
Twiddling our thumbs.
Okay, so we are going to talk a little bit about some box office specifics, and then we will go into what our thoughts were.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so initially, this was supposed to have a projected budget of $100 million.
Okay.
Which sounds pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
COVID happened. Everything kind of ballooned out to about $180 million total.
Woo.
Which, it's going to be what it's going to be. I think that Oppenheimer is going to be a massive success for Christopher Nolan
I
at
would
this
think
point.
so.
If nothing else, it is certainly going to be Oscar bait.
Yes,
It's going to be awards.
So while we are recording this basically on the Monday after opening weekend.
Yep.
So the opening box office for domestic was 80 million, which
Solid.
is really, really good.
Really good, yeah.
And then international was 93. So we're pretty much half and half, kind of like it was
Very similar to
with Barbie.
Barbie,
Yeah, 174 million worldwide, which I think is fantastic. It's
a great
essentially
start.
already made its budget back.
Well, and also
This
because
is-
it didn't release in a lot of markets.
Yeah, it's still waiting to release, I think, in Japan and China.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is a 3-hour rated R World War II, but not actually the war.
Yeah.
Scientists, right?
I did not think it was going to do as
shelling
good
money out for it.
as Mission Impossible 7, which also did like almost around 80 something.
Yeah,
Something in that
which
realm,
is
yeah.
insane to think about.
Right, like
because-
earlier this summer, I would have never
to me,
believed,
if you didn't
yeah.
have Christopher Nolan's name attached to Oppenheimer, I would have said, okay, that's going to be like critically
10 million,
acclaimed.
yeah.
But it's going to happen, and it's going to get a $20 million open, and then immediately nosedive off into oblivion.
Yeah,
right?
because it's going to be limited release. No one's going to see it, but no.
And it's going to be 3
Christopher
hours
Nolan.
long and all this other,
So Christopher Nolan actually found out about the book that this is based on, which is American Prometheus, from Robert Pattinson when they were filming Tenet.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, so Robert Pattinson made this whole spiel with him, like when they were just sitting down one day filming, or after filming, I think, and he was like, "Dude, you need to check out this book. It's really good."
Wait, hold on. That's really rude of Nolan to not cast Pattinson in this
He
film.
did laugh about that.
Like,
This is my idea.
But yeah,
He's sitting at home. He sees the trailer on TV. Hold on. What?
Wait, hold on.
Wait.
Wait, directed by Christopher Nolan.
Hold on. Turn this up. Turn this up.
What?
son of a.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I found that pretty interesting.
That is
and,
awesome.
The further
He's on the phone with Christopher Nolan. I was in Twilight.
the further Pattinson gets away from Twilight, the more I like him. Honestly.
I honestly think he's a fantastic actor.
Yeah,
So,
he's really good.
but yeah, basically, Christopher Nolan wanted to do this as practical as possible. There's no VFX shots in this film, so the explosion
No, there's a few VFX. A very few.
no.
Pause for a dramatic stare from Andrew.
There are credits to a VFX department in the credits.
No, okay, see that's the thing. Okay.
He also forgot
There's
to
a
credit-
a
yeah.
very big difference between having to composite something and
Fair.
doing a VFX CGI shot.
All right, fair enough.
There
fair
is no
enough.
CGI in this film.
There's no full shot, just CGI.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Except for when Oppenheimer invents the green screen and then he has a VR headset on at that one point.
Can we not? Can we not?
But yeah, so
Ready Player One.
if you're listening to this episode, you've probably already heard some of the talking points about why this film is kind of a big deal. One, it is the longest IMAX film in existence. It is 11 miles long and weighs 600 pounds. For you to watch the 70 millimeter showing in IMAX, you had to go to a theater that basically bought an expansion disc that goes on the edge of the real projector or the spool.
Yeah.
And it barely hits clearance.
Well, and if you went to see it at the theater that I did, they went to wish.com and found like a budget,
Sure
or maybe
did.
Temu, I can't remember, and got their version of this.
All right, we got the
did
tea.
not
You
work
can
out.
give us the tea, Ryan.
Okay, so
Well, for one,
You're chomping at the
his
bit. I
theater
see
didn't
it.
have HVAC.
no. So number one, I go to I order my tickets to Oppenheimer, right? And this is when they first went on sale, and they were labeled as 70 millimeter IMAX. And I went, oh, incredible, awesome.
I
get
can
to see-
corroborate the story. This is exactly what happened to me.
Thank you. Okay, because Christopher Nolan. He
said this is the best
He said the
format.
best way to see it is in 70 millimeter IMAX.
See, and I remember y'all talking about this, and then I saw the article
Yeah.
where they're like only 25 theaters. Okay, there's no way there's no one of these in Birmingham.
Right. And so I saw it. I saw the thing on the AMC app was like 70 millimeter IMAX. I went, purchase 2 tickets, picked really good
Yep.
spots. I was like, yeah. Right. So I get to the theater and there is so many people at the theater because obviously
This
Barbie
is the
and
busiest
Oppenheimer.
I've seen a
Incredible.
theater.
And so they
Again,
don't
one of 4 weekends
Yeah.
to break 300 million domestic.
they don't have the staff there
Mm-hmm.
to check everyone in. I'm like, I've already bought. They're on. It doesn't matter. So I'm in line. I'm like freaking out because it's getting close. We're gonna. I like to be in my seat.
You want to watch the trailers.
Yeah. And so I'm like, come on. So we get our tickets, and my wife and I just run into the IMAX theater. Like I'm like
he's just booking it.
Yeah, I'm booking it
behind him.
Yeah, no time for snacks. No time. Let's go. So we get in there, and the movie has already started. And so like my showtime was like 7:30. This was like 7:34. And I'm like, man, they just started this.
They just ripped it.
I had this moment where I was like, well, maybe the 70 millimeter print doesn't have trailers. Like maybe it's just the movie, which is weird. But I was like, whatever. So I'm like, they're talking, I'm like walking up, looking back at the scene, and then like, I find my row and it's full, and I go, oh great, somebody's in my chair, like somebody's in my seat. I'm gonna have to like cause a scene because there's no seats available.
Packed.
And so then I looked down at my tickets because let me figure out what seats I'm in, and it said auditorium 6, and I'm like, wait, this is 15.
Yep.
Hold on. And so then everyone in this aisle is looking at me like, you got to make a move, buddy. And I'm like, I just turn around.
A movie.
So I turn around and start going down. My wife is losing her mind. She's like, what are we doing? Because I just ran up this IMAX theater, looked at my phone, and went, expletive, and then turned and went back down. So she's back down with me. And, I see it on, screen in IMAX. I'm like, cool. So we go into theater 6. I turn you walk down the hallway.
Yeah.
And when you turn the corner to look up to where the seats are, I feel the heat. It's like 80 degrees, right? There's not a lot of people in there yet.
Yeah.
I walk up and up and up the stairs. And every step increased like a degree, it felt like. And so we get up to our seats, which are about, midway. We sit down, and I was like, whoa. And she's like, no AC in here tonight, huh? And I was like, I guess not. Because let me tell you, the IMAX theater was crispy. It was real cool in there. And so I sit down, and I'm like, I'm frustrated because now I'm like, is this IMAX? I'm looking at the screen. It's definitely not IMAX. So I'm going to wrap my story up quick. I'm going to get through it, okay?
No, you're fine.
So anyhow, I don't want to prattle on too much about it. So
take us on a journey.
It's super hot. People keep filing in. That increases the heat, right? And so they start off, and the trailers are playing, and it's playing through like a digital projector.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm having this thought of like, is this even the 70 millimeter
showing?
Oh. Yeah. So I'm looking for my receipt. I'm like furiously going through my email of like, I bought 70 millimeter IMAX, And so I can't find my receipt. I finally find it, and it was like, I think it just had like a link or whatever. And so when I opened the app, it's like just 70 millimeter.
70 millimeter, yeah.
Not IMAX. And I was like, huh. Okay, so I was like, maybe they swapped it or something happened.
Yeah.
Whatever. At least it's 70 millimeter. So then the trailer's in. They swap over to the film projector or whatever. It starts up, and immediately I can see like this strobing effect is happening. And
it was bad.
I've described it to you guys of like, I've seen movies projected on film reels before. Yeah. I've never seen it strobe like this. Like, this is not normal strobing. It was like
it was a vibration.
It was like a vibration where like it was like the projector would get out of alignment, and you'd see black frames and sort of like pop, 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 and then it would like over the course of 10 seconds come back. There was a smear in the center of anything white, anything bright was like it was like every other frame.
It was like a little outer glow.
It was like an outer glow in the in the center of the frame, not at the edges.
VFX shot that Steven was talking
that's
about.
What it was.
They paid good money for that.
I'm sweaty. I'm watching not an IMAX 70 millimeter print. The freaking projector is not doing its job, and I'm sitting there just mad. I am steaming at how like bad my theater experience is.
This is just the 4D experience.
Yes, like I felt like I was in the New Mexico desert.
He did pay extra for that.
So that was what burned me up, is I paid extra for the 70 millimeter IMAX, and I got a hot theater and a badly aligned projector. I would have went in the IMAX theater where it was like cold and watched the digital print if I knew this was how it was going to be. You know?
So we all saw the 70 millimeter at different days. And I saw it on Thursday. Ryan saw it on Friday.
I saw it on Friday.
Steven saw it on Friday. Okay. Oh, well, I don't know then. But
what time was your showing? 7:30?
Yeah. You saw it at like 3.
You were the showing after us.
Okay. So our showing was perfectly fine. Yeah. Like, we didn't have any issue at all with.
But you had the white thing, right?
That shrieking was there. Okay. But like the frame flicker for us was not a problem. It never got out of sync or anything like that. But we were the first showing of the 70 millimeter for the theater. So
I wonder if it got progressively worse.
I'm pretty sure it just got worse. So if you could try to go see it now at Patton Creek and Hoover, don't.
Go somewhere else.
I don't think they're doing it anymore. They did film showings for like that first
the first weekend. Yeah,
that was it.
Then they broke the projector. Couldn't keep up.
Well, like now that you're saying there's like an add-on for this 11 miles of film or whatever, they probably like again.
Well, someone's furiously 3D printing.
So
this.
that is only for the IMAX 70 millimeter,
the true
not the actual 70 millimeter film that we watched, which is totally different.
Got it.
So it's very confusing.
Yeah,
because it's not well defined. This is almost like back when The Hobbit came out, and it was like high frame rate.
And there was 3D.
Then 3D, and then like the other thing that was...
Well, so they had, with The Hobbit, they had a 3D showing that was 24 frames. They had a high frame rate showing that wasn't 3D. And then they had a high frame rate 3D showing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't label any of them, so you had no clue like what you were going to get.
Okay.
So for me, hold on, I got to get it in
Okay, fine.
So for me, I just like to say that my Barbie theater was crispy cool.
Oh,
mine was too.
My Oppenheimer theater was crispy cool.
Oh my gosh.
This guy.
You guys broke the AC.
Projector for Barbie was perfect.
Now, Oppenheimer HVAC for us, totally fine.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
The projector for Oppenheimer, well, they left the projection room light on for like the first 25
Fantastic.
minutes.
Way to go, AMC.
Just the top 4 rows just illuminated.
Yeah.
And also, we had the same bit in the film. Like, it was making Lauren, like, nauseous.
Wow.
Oh, I could very easily see somebody.
It took me about 30 to 45 minutes where my eyes stopped
like kind of got used to it. Yeah.
And then when the credits started rolling, I was like, oh.
Yeah, I was like, they should have an epilepsy warning at the front.
Seriously. All right, let's get into
Okay,
this.
yeah. So I want to hear what your thoughts are.
We've already told you our thoughts. He was hot.
About the film.
About the film.
It was juddery.
Not the experience.
So I juddered my way through this movie.
Stuttered.
No, I liked it a lot. Despite all of
despite everything.
Despite, an overwhelming amount of discomfort and frustration with my theater going experience, I thought the movie was great.
Yeah.
I am a huge fan of like practical effects and like
Christopher Nolan
and Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey and like all of those things.
Everybody they hired, I'm a fan of.
Right, yeah. Everyone in this movie, I like everybody. So it was one of those rare moments where it was like a subject I'm interested in, a filmmaker I like, all the actors I like. Like it was like great for me. Like
and I think this is Nolan at his peak performance.
Probably, yeah.
I think
it's got to
so.
be close. If it's not there, it's got to be close.
Like if anything, I think this is one of his best, if not his best film.
Yeah, I would concur with that. I would say if it's not his best, it's definitely up there.
One or two.
Yeah,
like it's really good.
It's so different from his other movies that it's hard to like.
It's hard to compare it.
It's apples and oranges to a degree, but
this is his second historical film that he's done. But the other one was fiction, and this one is historical fiction.
Right.
It's got a little bit
so
of
there's embellishment,
it,
but there is still factual pieces that show up in the film.
Yeah.
So I liked it a lot. So I've seen a lot of reviews of people complaining about it being confusing. And I was like, look, guys, if you showed up to a Christopher Nolan movie and you thought there was going to be one linear timeline, I can't help you.
Incorrect.
Like, I cannot help you at this point. I don't know what you expect from this man. Look at Dunkirk. Look at Inception.
Look at Memento, his first movie.
Yeah,
literally, like any of his films that aren't superhero films.
Basically, like, I don't know what you expected. The Prestige. He likes these kind of
people did not watch Tenet, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't watch Tenet, so
it's all right.
You're the part of the problem. Anyways.
Am I?
Visually, it's incredible. But the story bends over backwards to explain how out of order it is.
It does happen like that sometimes. But I got to say, again, you're watching basically a historical film with a little embellishment, little zhuzh in there, make it razzmatazz for the
Well, I mean,
audience.
you got to when you're doing a dramatization of anything, you know.
Well, of course.
Dramatization.
Dramatization. But yeah, I mean, it was quite entertaining. The time absolutely flew by for me. Like, we were getting to the point where they're doing like a countdown and stuff. And I'm like, I know that's not the end, but we're getting there. And I don't know how long I've been in this theater.
They do the movie is paced, I think, pretty phenomenally.
Oh yeah.
Because the biggest thing, like, he knows that you were there for the explosion.
Yeah.
For the Trinity bomb to go off. That is what you were there for.
Practical effect, big boom.
And he teases you a little bit throughout, but he ramps the tension so well throughout the film.
With the music especially.
The music helps.
We will get there. I have so much stuff about the music.
Yeah.
But, man, this is Christopher Nolan in top form. And I think he knew going into it that this was a film that he had to go big or go home. Because
absolutely,
it's one of those things where if you are essentially Christopher Nolan, who is used to doing sci-fi and these kind of like cerebral action flicks is the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
And then you're going into historical biopic of the father of the atom, like
Atom Bomb.
Bomb. Like what?
No, it's wild. And it's a wild swing.
We have a lot of scientists talking to each other about math and physics,
and you have to make that interesting.
Yeah, like,
oh man, so
gotta get some personal drama in there, some tension.
Well, I've seen some stuff that was like, they embellish a little bit to reflect how, like, Oppenheimer was an extremely smart guy, but he wasn't as smart as like Einstein. Like they try to like put it in perspective. A lot of these guys that were like Einstein's era were like like
Heisenberg.
Well, Heisenberg, Einstein, they like blew up these theories of like, look at this. And these were the cleanup guys that came in after and had to like work with like the theory that is now out.
They opened, I mean, even in the film, they talk about this term, like they opened Pandora's box essentially.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's the big thing history wise is that Oppenheimer is the guy that made it happen. He wasn't the one that split the atom. He wasn't the one.
Yeah. He wasn't the first to split the atom.
Yeah. Like he didn't do all of this stuff as like first. He just organized it all to basically make it a project that the U.S. beat other countries to during World War II.
There was a timeline, a goal, and they achieved it, basically.
Yeah, and that's kind of the whole point of the film, and we'll get to that post-spoilers.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. It's probably one of my favorite Nolan films now, outside of like Interstellar, I think. And so would you rewatch it? Would you recommend it?
I am definitely going to rewatch it, very similar to you with your Barbie experience of like me being in the hot theater. Like I want to be able to just experience the movie.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely probably buy it, when it comes out and watch it again. I would recommend it basically to anyone who I think likes Christopher Nolan movies or anyone who likes,
if you are interested at all in World War II, anything, this is a really good capstone, I think, to really any other World War II film.
Yeah.
Just because this really is the punctuation mark for the war.
Yeah, well, it was a huge turning point, in history.
Yeah.
Sure was.
Yeah, so if anyone roughly interested in that aspect of stuff, I would definitely recommend it.
What about you, Steven?
I mean, I think y'all hit the nail on the head here on the recommendations. You'd have to know that you're going into, again, an R-rated, 3-hour-long film.
There is some frontal nudity,
There's some,
ish.
I was about to say not enough, but that made me sound like a creeper. Not enough.
Well, not who you want.
We'll get to that past the spoiler.
Can't take this guy anywhere.
I know.
But so we're going to go see this again in IMAX because we saw it in film. Now we want to go see it on the biggest screen possible. We're just going to find a Tuesday to go watch it or whatever for discount.
Discount. Yeah. So I'm not going to lie. We just moved houses. And we've realized we need a bigger TV
and a sound system,
and everything else.
So talk to you, boy.
Once all that's in place, I'm gonna be like, yeah, that's right, Christopher Nolan. You got your 70 millimeter. I got my 75-inch TV.
I've seen your living room. You can go for an 85. Don't sell yourself short.
It can absolutely fit one. I just don't know if I can justify it.
Okay.
It would be like being an IMAX.
Yeah, you'd be so close.
All right. This is the spoiler wall. You have had your warning. If you have not seen Oppenheimer and you want to not be spoiled by us, then you can go spoil yourself by watching the movie.
Oh, got him. In the nicest, coolest theater you can find.
Yeah, just don't do it at Patton Creek 70 millimeter showings.
Oh, man, we are going to be off. Like, I haven't been to that theater in a long time because I've been going to the Summit. And y'all been ragging on me about going to the Summit. And then Patton Creek failed us all.
I just got an email from Patton Creek. They were planning on sponsoring us and not anymore. We were right there, guys.
Okay, so we're past the spoiler wall. I'm going to hit you guys with some trivia. There's actually quite a bit of trivia for this film.
So it's a new film, but it also helps that the subject matter is historical.
And because it is practical filmmaking, there's a lot of really good little tidbits in there.
Sweet.
So I'm going to save some stuff for Spectacle because it's really interesting. But Matt Damon was on a break from acting that he made a promise to his wife, and he said, look, The only person I will come out of retirement or off the break for is Christopher Nolan. Guess who called him the next day?
Nolan's like, so I heard you were thinking about bumming around. Huh?
So he's like, listen, baby, I'm done with this whole acting thing for a while. He gets out of the room with her, gets on the phone. Chris Nolan, you gotta help me. Call tomorrow, make it seem not forced.
Also, when Matt Damon read the script for the first time, presented him by Christopher Nolan, he was flabbergasted to see that it was written on red paper
with black ink.
With black ink.
Why?
I have no idea. And it was written in the first person format, which he had never professionally seen before.
The first person.
Okay, so I have some info on that if you don't.
Well, so basically the if you're looking at the film itself, everything that is in color is from Oppenheimer's perspective. Yep. Everything that's in black and white is from Strauss's perspective.
Yep.
So, which Nolan says it's subjective and objective filmmaking. I think there's some liberty in that with obviously some of the facts that show up.
Well, there's definitely also like that conversation in the back room during the confirmation hearing. I sincerely doubt that that's word for word.
Exactly.
Honestly, yeah.
But yeah, so if it's in color, it's from Oppenheimer's perspective. If it's in black and white, then Strauss's perspective.
But the Oppenheimer side of it was written in first person perspective in the script.
It was.
Wow. That's wild. So how did he, as Leslie Groves, know what he was saying? He's like, Oppenheimer looked at Leslie Groves as he said, and he's like, oh, I guess I talk here. Also, by the way, if you've ever seen an actual picture of Leslie Groves, General Leslie Groves, he looks nothing like Matt Damon.
They're relying on the fact that nobody knows what he looks like.
They were very kind in casting Matt Damon.
Because Oppenheimer and Cillian Murphy, they look a reasonable facsimile there.
Well, so
not General Leslie Groves and Matt Damon.
So this was something interesting too. So Christopher Nolan claimed that the idea to cast Cillian Murphy came to him while looking at the book cover of J. Robert Oppenheimer. And wanting to achieve Oppenheimer's gaunt physique, Murphy lost weight and kept to a strict diet during filming. Murphy restricted his caloric intake to a single almond a day.
What?
One almond.
Or a slice of apple.
I mean, they just call that an Irish breakfast, don't they? I'm Irish. I can say that. Stop looking at me like that.
You got real quiet here.
I'm Irish.
Can we say that?
Whoa, we're definitely getting demonetized.
Are we even monetized?
That's the problem.
I mean, Patton Creek was on the line and we dogged them.
All
right, so let's get into some spectacle.
Well, before you jump into that one, because I was going to say something about the red and the black.
Oh, go ahead.
Script.
Yeah.
Because Robert Downey Jr. also, when he read the script, he was like, it was like red paper with black ink. And he's like, I don't know what the plan there is, but it was like hypnosis. I read it, and I knew what it said, but when I was done, I couldn't remember any of it.
Maybe that's the point.
I don't know.
What if you're colorblind? You're like, what? It's just another script. I don't understand.
It's a piece of paper, yeah.
Joke's on you, Nolan.
What's with this light gray and black script?
But I got to say, being somebody like Nolan, right? Like we said with Oppenheimer, he's looking at Oppenheimer, he's like, well, Cillian Murphy. He just reaches out to him, flies out to him, brings the script. So you want in? Yeah, you're in? Cool, perfect. Same thing with Robert Downey Jr.
Same thing with Matt Damon.
Right, same thing with Matt Damon. But Downey came to Nolan's house in L.A.
And he asked for him to be in the film.
Like he read the script and he was like, so what do you think? He's like, yeah, it's pretty good. So you want to do it? And Downey Jr. is like, well, I mean, yeah, usually though there's 38 phone calls before this, but yeah, I'm in.
It's not how I do things.
So because this is the Barbenheimer episode, I do have a little bit of fun trivia, which I'm sure we've already heard throughout social media and stuff. But both Cillian Murphy and Christopher Nolan are amused by the Barbenheimer phenomenon, basically in the same light as everyone's watching the film. Well, everyone's going out to the movie. You guys brought back the double feature.
Right.
Yeah.
Us being people.
Right.
And that's the thing is it's very similar to the subs versus dubs thing for anime, where everyone's just like, oh, which one do you like more? And it's like, it doesn't matter. You're both watching it. Who cares?
You're watching
right. Yeah.
And I think it's fantastic that, because this was, despite the problems that we've had in the theaters for both films, it was really fun just having a massive theater experience of walking in, and it was just packed.
We haven't had these kinds of moments in American cinema in quite some time now, where it's just everyone's talking about it.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to see it. Everyone, like, we just haven't had that kind of moment
experience
in a really long time, since honestly kind of like The Force Awakens or even like Game of Thrones.
And it was really fun. Like, I mean, despite the problems that we had in the theater, I still had a good time being part of that experience. Like, we dressed up for Barbie. We didn't dress up for Oppenheimer. I don't have a suit, so.
Oh boy, if you had dressed up for that, you walked in, you're like, it's 90 degrees, and you're like, this was a mistake.
Glad I dressed up as full frontal Oppenheimer.
Oh no! All right, so let's talk about Spectacle.
Okay.
So the explosions were real. Yes. He didn't blow up a nuclear bomb, though.
No, just a big bomb.
Nolan admitted that he did catch wind of the memes about how he practically detonated a nuclear bomb on set. In lieu of CGI, he's flattered by the perception of his dedication to the craft, but confessed also being scared that this was the lengths that his reputations have reached.
So I've seen like it's like a like TikTok reel or video or reel or whatever where they're like joking around and it's just one guy as Nolan. He's like, so we're gonna be shooting this. He's like, wait a minute, but Nolan, so like, what kind of CGI do you want for this bomb? Like, I don't want any CGI. Like, what do you mean? He's like, also, we're going to be shooting in Japan. It's like, wait, hold on, Nolan.
So Hoyt van Hoytema is the cinematographer, and he basically said they built aquariums. They had these like balloons these metallic balloons that they were like lit up from the inside to create like all these like really weird effects of light and stuff.
Is that like the lines and stuff?
Something like that.
It's his internal, like Oppenheimer's internal visions and whatnot. Okay, yeah.
And basically, like they had we had things slamming and smashing into one another like ping pong balls, and just had objects spinning. We had long shutter speeds, short shutter speeds, wide negative color, negative overexposure, underexposure. Like there's so many,
just everything.
There's
everything that your professor told you was bad photography. You're like, use it.
Look, you have to know the rules before you can break them.
Yeah, like no one needs to know what this actually is. Is it the edge of a plate balanced on a balloon? Do it. Just make it a little darker.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was like the actual Trinity explosion is not a full-size nuclear explosion, obviously.
Sure.
It is much smaller scale, but made to look basically for that same size.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think they did a really good job.
Oh, God. Yes, they did. Yeah. So what do you guys think?
So I think the cinematography was incredible. Not just the bomb. Like, so the bomb was great. Moving past that. At first, when it started swapping between, black and white and color, I was still trying to piece together why. Like, wait, the black and white stuff's like further in the future, and this is back in the, normally it's like the past is black and white. And so, I finally figured out it was the perspectives.
Yeah, the perspectives.
Thing.
Yeah, but it really doesn't happen until pretty much towards the end of the film when they're both in close proximity to the same timeline.
Right.
Where you're just like, I get it.
You
now.
start to really firmly figure it out. Yeah, but I thought as far as, the costuming, the set design, like everything looked period correct with the exception of the American flags they were waving.
Oh, yeah. They were a lot of people blown that up. Where you picked flags of all 50 states.
Right, yeah. There were only 48 states in the Union. 48 in the Union at the time.
Where do you even get 48 state flags, though? Also, Christopher Nolan's British. He don't know.
How could he?
How could he know?
He thought 76 happened, and there's just 50 states.
Yeah. So did you know that there was no black and white, 65 millimeter black and white film for IMAX that existed, and they had to go to Kodak to have them make the
Please.
film? Yeah. Well, so they called them up, and they're like, "Hey, do you have this?" And they're like, "No." It doesn't exist. And they're like, can you make it exist?
Christopher Nolan said, until now.
And they're like, I guess so. Yeah, so this was the first film to ever have black and white stock IMAX film. Because it actually is black and white, which you can tell.
Yes.
Right. Because the big thing whenever you watch Casino Royale. Whenever you go and watch the Casino Royale, you can tell that it's just desaturated and it's just black and white filter.
Sure.
Where it has this grain, it has the tactile
such
feel,
a good quality look to it.
So much detail. It is insane the difference, and that is why he goes to these lengths.
To
hit these kind of moments because you wouldn't have such an impactful performance for Robert Downey Jr.
Right.
I think if he was just desaturated on a black and white filter.
It just doesn't look. It doesn't feel historical.
Mm-hmm. As much as Christopher Nolan gets like grief for like huffing his own farts and being like so like, oh, you got to watch it in the theater. Like it's because of this dude that we get movies like he basically is one of the few filmmakers out here proving why shooting on film and not digitally still makes sense sometimes.
Well, and that's the thing is like this is also one of the films too where most of the time like when you have movies that are shot in IMAX or for IMAX. Most of the time, they really only actually shoot the action scenes and the big wide open shots for with the IMAX cameras.
The Burj Khalifa or whatever.
This was the only film that has ever been shot with IMAX the whole time.
Yeah, well, I mean, most of Nolan's movies are like that. They have like 35 millimeter normal shots, and they cut to that one IMAX action scene, and it takes up the whole frame or whatever. So that's incredible that he was like, no. The whole movie.
The whole movie.
For the film, use it.
I mean,
So what's next? You know what I mean? Like, where's he go from here?
Yeah, but I mean, I thought the cinematography was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Particularly the way he composed his shots with Robert Downey Jr.
Oh yeah.
Was just.
Well, the twist too with that of like how they're framed a certain way like earlier in the movie and then towards the end like it gets closer and
it's more claustrophobic because you're like, oh, he's the bad guy.
The focal distance changes like everything like ooh here we go,
slimy Robert Downey Jr.
I know.
I love it.
I mean. I could probably talk for a long time about Spectacle unless you wanted to move on to Performance, unless you got something else.
We can do Performance. I'm up for it.
Everyone did good.
All of them.
Everyone really did do good, but I want to give two special shout outs. Okay.
Oh.
Number one, Jason Clarke.
Who's that?
He's
Roger Robb.
Yes, nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
He plays such a punchable man when he's like interrogating everybody. The second shout out gotta be Emily Blunt, and that is simply because of this one shot at the end of the movie.
Oh man,
when what's the scientist's name who goes for the handshake? I'm trying to remember his name.
Teller.
It's the H-bomb guy who wants to get
Teller.
the. He goes for that handshake. The look she gives him.
Oh man,
was chilling.
Yeah, Edward Teller.
Yeah, when he goes up to get the handshake and she just.
See, I like
deadpans.
I like the scene earlier during the Inquisition.
Oh, she does great in that one too.
Well, one when she's being interrogated, she's just blasting him back.
Yeah.
But also post it after Teller gives his testimony, and she's just like, "You shook his hand."
Oh yeah. Man, she gave it to him.
Oh yeah.
She did fantastic, and it's really crazy too because she didn't really have much at all until maybe the last 20
I almost
minutes.
kind of felt like she was being wasted there for a while.
Yeah,
for like the first half, when they barely introduced her, I was like, okay, are they not going to do anything with this character? I was like, maybe she just plays like a footnote in this movie, and then the back half she totally
So I have to give out a shout out to my one of my favorite bad guys from one of my favorite films, Tony Goldwyn. As Gordon Gray.
Oh, yeah.
I was like...
He did really good.
He's Colonel Bagley.
Yep.
From Last Samurai. Oh, my gosh, it's happening. And I was so excited because I was like, this sounds like Ed Harris. And
no one else in the theater saying that. And you're going, Last Samurai. Colonel Bagley.
You have to fill me in here. Where does he show up?
He's the other guy behind Jason Clarke.
Yeah, like at the desk, there's like the three dudes. He's in the middle.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And you got the old
he's
guy
technically the board.
Okay, he's like the head of the board group.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with you now. Like, I will say this: maybe my biggest complaint is there's such a roster of actors, and so many of these characters are kind of introduced once or twice an hour ago, and
then
they
you
show
just
back
never
up,
see them again. Yeah,
or they show back up, and I'm like, boy, you look familiar, but I don't know your name.
Well, they don't do the best job at giving you the name because a lot of them are given in conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very naturally revealed as opposed to they're like, hey, Robert, so glad you could make it. That kind of thing.
And it's like, oh, that was a name I was supposed to remember.
Well, and also a lot of them, because they're like European scientists, this is the 40s, and they have heavy accents, too, it can sometimes be a challenge because I think they do a very good job throughout the cast of laying it on for an accent.
Right.
Yeah.
It can be difficult sometimes. And I did see some complaints. This is maybe more score related of Nolan's balancing dialogue versus music.
Nah,
I didn't have an issue with it at all, even
Yeah.
with the accents thrown in.
they're wrong.
There were two scenes where I couldn't quite catch it, but I don't think it was the balancing. I think it was the person was mush-mouthing it.
Yeah, they just had,
Yeah.
whatever.
I thought Josh Hartnett did really good too.
As
Dr.
Lawrence. Yeah,
that was a good one.
His hair.
I know.
The hair with the little glasses.
Yeah.
So Tom Conti.
As
Phenomenal casting as Albert Einstein.
Oh yeah.
Like when we saw the trailer, we were like, man, whoever they found to be Einstein, that guy looks the part.
He really does. And he also fits that kind of demeanor too, just from what I know about Einstein. I mean, obviously I never met him. But yeah, I mean, like he just has that kind of look.
Yeah.
And they did a fantastic job with that was great.
I think Matt Damon did a good job, but he didn't really do anything like as impressive.
He kind of played himself.
He does that in a lot of movies, though.
Yeah.
He didn't really do anything that I feel like somebody else couldn't have done with that role.
Right.
But the role wasn't really that kind of role. It was not
He played a good heel.
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like his bit in the interrogation, I'm going to come up with a better word. Inquisition is not the right word. The review board. There we go.
Yeah.
When he's looking through the guidelines and he's like, based on this, based on these guidelines, I would not give him certification.
But I also wouldn't do it.
But
for
I wouldn't give
else.
it to any of them. Yeah. Because like we've made the guidelines so strict at this point, none of them we could never have done this.
It would have never happened.
Literally, he's literally saying the bureaucratic nonsense here means we would never would have accomplished what we accomplished.
And we would have lost.
With like getting that jab in there without actually saying like this is the kind of thing that a political hound that you have to be a general would do.
Yeah, and so going into the film, I didn't know Gary Oldman was in this.
Oh, I didn't either, yeah.
Oh, it's Truman. It's Gary Oldman.
I know. I was like, yeah, there he is.
So he had also played Winston Churchill from another movie. So there's just two different heads of state.
Yeah.
In the same time period that he's played, which is kind of fun, I guess.
It is. Yeah.
I actually really liked his characters, kind of like the reaction to Oppenheimer, like the bit with the handkerchief or whatever.
Yeah,
I thought that was good.
Well, so and that's kind of more plot or maybe entertainment or now. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure if that was a fair representation for Truman, but I also don't know enough about Truman's presidency or him to like have an opinion.
There was definitely an issue with Truman, right? Because like when Roosevelt died, Truman as vice president basically hadn't been told anything about this.
Right.
And it was like, hey, you're in the seat, make a decision.
Also, I don't think Roosevelt he met Truman like once.
A very little, very
after
little.
Like the way they did it back then, like he was like decided to be the vice president.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think Roosevelt chose him.
Well, also, like, I mean, Roosevelt's health wasn't great.
Right.
So it's not like he's traveling the country meeting everybody who's out there.
But there was something shisty, if I remember right, with like the way he got voted in to be because everyone pretty much knew whoever becomes the vice president is going to be president, or whatever.
But I do think he was kind of thrust into it, and I do believe historically
he was kind of cavalier.
Well, no, I don't think that's what it is. I think Truman had wrestled with the idea of what he did as well, like what the weight of that decision. So then I think that characterization is really good, where he meets Oppenheimer. Like, look, you made it, but I'm the one who told them to kill people.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with this. Don't come in here with this crybaby BS, whatever this is.
Okay, that's a different spin on it.
And I think that was actually a pretty good portrayal of it where, and also, again, this is kind of more plot related, also kind of that shift where Oppenheimer goes from the center of everything
to the center of nothing.
The crates leave town and he's irrelevant. He's just another person who hears it on the radio, right?
Yeah.
And I think that was part of that shift as well. That was really well done.
Okay,
that's more plot.
That's fair. Because I didn't think about it from that perspective of it. Anyways, it
was a really good representation. I don't know how accurate it is to what Truman would have said.
I saw something that said there's reports that he actually said, don't ever let that coward back in my office.
Crybaby or
crybaby. Whatever he said there at the end, that's like
that's
reported.
A killer line.
That's what he said.
Wow.
So I think if that's an actual line they have evidence of, then that speaks to his character in that specific scene.
So we need to obviously talk about probably our two main men here.
Yeah.
Robert Downey
Robert Downey does great. Cillian does great. Both of them just kill it in different ways.
Probably both awards level performances, I think.
I think it's a very safe bet that Cillian gets nominated for Best Actor and Robert Downey for supporting. Now, whether or not they win,
you don't know. Yeah,
but definite nominations.
Well,
I don't think
so.
There's
This is one of those things too, where like going into this, the only really thing that I've seen Robert Downey in is just MCU films, which is just hilarious because they criminally underuse him as an actor after seeing this.
He's been in so many things.
But the thing is, you got to remember, prior to Iron Man, he was kind of blackballed, right, from productions. And MCU kind of rehabilitated him. And now he's able to pick up a little bit more. And I think, especially with a performance like this, he's going to have a lot more where he gets something where he can actually do stuff with it, right?
Yeah, so he had a few movies before Iron Man that started his, like, rehabilitation journey.
But no, I've never really seen anything else. I probably have, but I just can't, I can't remember.
But like Cillian Murphy is a known quantity in terms of like,
he's a fantastic
can you be a
actor.
serious actor, like a serious actor? Like, absolutely. Can I see the same for Robert Downey? Not all the time, but after seeing this,
yes, absolutely. I mean, and he plays a very good, very confident villain.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. I mean, he is,
because he has that snark.
He's got the very much so command of the situation the whole way through until he doesn't. Right.
Yeah.
And
when he snaps.
Boy.
Yeah. Like, man, in that back room when he was waiting or whatever, and he just he flips because he knows that he's lost. Man, it's so good. Florence Pugh or Pug Pugh. Pugh.
Pooh.
Florence P.U.
She did great.
Yeah, I thought she was really good. I knew that Oppenheimer like had like a on again off again girlfriend or wife, and like a mistress, and like there was a lot of weird stuff romantically with Oppenheimer in his life. But I thought she played that character really well, and I loved the idea of like, don't bring me flowers,
Yeah,
that concept was
just
good.
stop it.
That was pretty
throws
great.
him in the trash every time.
It's almost kind of like their love language, where he's still the one night he's still like, well, at least you didn't bring me flowers, and he pulls one out.
Yep, I know he's still got one. Yeah.
I really liked. I'm gonna butcher his name, Alden Ehrenreich.
That's right. Yeah. Got it in one.
So my only real exposure to him was Solo.
Same. Yeah.
And honestly, I really liked his play with Robert Downey in the backroom sequence. It's not like he doesn't get a ton of time.
Yeah.
But I think it's well done.
It was. I thought so too.
I really liked it at the end when he finally turned and he's like, I guess they have something better to talk about or whatever he said.
It's like, whoa, boy.
Or maybe they're talking about something more important than you or whatever he said.
That's what he said.
It was like that jab, and it was like, go.
Well, I love how that. Again, we're way ahead of ourselves, but I love how that conversation between Oppenheimer and Einstein is shown early, and then it's held back the actual discussion for so long.
Which is completely innocuous.
It's just really good
two scientists talking.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to Score.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Done by Ludwig Göransson.
Not who I expected.
No, so the reason why he did it and not Hans Zimmer was because Hans Zimmer was committed to Dune 1 and Dune 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know what? So again, when credits rolled, I assumed, given what we got, this is going to be Hans Zimmer, it's Christopher Nolan, and then it's Ludwig Göransson. Like, whoa, okay, wow, God, this guy's so hot right now. But saying, hey, we get this score from Ludwig, and then we also get what Hans is doing with Dune, I'll take that trade-off. Like, that's a great, have my cake and eat it too moment.
Absolutely.
So this is really cool. So the score for the film does not feature any drums, 0 drums. As director Christopher Nolan and composer Ludwig Göransson felt using sound typically associated with military would be inauthentic to musically capture the character of Oppenheimer.
Okay, that's cool.
So we're going
from...
tell
me that Nolan was convinced drums didn't exist in the 40s. They weren't invented until 1979 or something like that,
I don't believe the drum. So we went from Mission Impossible 7 that's got a whole drum core in their soundtrack, and it's awesome, to this with no drums, and it's awesome. I don't know what to believe anymore.
I think this soundtrack was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, probably some of the best.
Boy, you can't listen to it, though, before it's time to go to sleep. It'll make you tense.
Oh, yeah. You wake up, you've been clenching your jaw all night. I think especially like there's a few scenes. Obviously, the bomb one is
the countdown.
Goes without saying.
The Ground Zero, and then followed up by Trinity, which are the 2 tracks on it. Trinity is a master.
Yeah, track. They are just like they got so many like moments that are just the tension is ratcheting up because of the sound. I think. My only complaint I would say about the soundtrack,
how dare you,
is that they're in the earlier scenes and like some of the front part of the movie. There are a few scenes where like the soundtrack feels like it's a bit busy for like a conversation scene, and it's kind of like, why don't we like that needs to chill out so I can like focus on what, because I'm starting to get amped up and this is just they're talking about lunch. What's happening? Like, what's going on? Yeah, like, and then later it's like it works perfectly. There's just a few scenes early where it's like we could dial that back a skosh. Like this feels a little intense for this conversation.
Yeah,
but that would be my only minor critique.
So you should pull up American Prometheus at around 1 minute ish.
Get us into the song.
Yeah, and it builds and builds, but then you really get into like I'll say the Oppenheimer theme here in just a second, where it's kind of like these all the strings.
Well, I mean, you don't have any drums.
There it is, right here. That little drop in there.
Yeah.
That's almost got some elements of like a Spider-Verse in it.
It does. Didn't Ludwig Göransson do the Spider-Verse soundtrack?
No,
I don't think so.
Okay.
Now you're gonna make me question that.
Look that up. I think you might have.
What?
No, who did Spider-Verse?
I'm
See,
looking.
now you have me questioning everything.
I know. What's real?
Talk about the music that's playing right now.
I mean, this is a really good track, American Prometheus.
Yeah.
Because it shifts, you know, like we hear right here, like multiple times throughout it.
Yeah, it changes like tempo. It does so much, and I think this is definitely one of Ludwig's best soundtracks that he's made, hands down.
Oh, for sure.
No.
Yeah.
Daniel Pemberton is Spider-Verse.
Okay.
Pemberton.
Yeah.
I don't even know who that is.
He looks like
Come
a
on,
Pemberton
Daniel.
too.
We did a whole episode on.
I can't remember what I ate for breakfast, Andrew. Come on.
But yeah, I think that this soundtrack is probably the best, if not one of the best that he's done. Just because like it's so different than what everything else that he's done prior to this, and it really feels very similar to whenever Christopher Nolan had Hans Zimmer make the soundtrack for Interstellar, which has a very specific vibe and feel to it that is orchestral, and it's not like a Hans Zimmer soundtrack,
right?
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And this is not a Ludwig Göransson soundtrack. This is a Oppenheimer
soundtrack. Yeah, there's no other real way to describe it.
Yeah. And it really hits with the level of gravity of what they're making and what the kind of emotions that they're going through.
The effects, the consequences. Yeah.
And like looking through Ludwig Göransson's stuff, like, you know, obviously The Mandalorian, but he did
Creed
Tenet.
1, Creed 2, Tenet.
Tenet had a lot of good music too in it.
I forgot that he worked with Nolan already. And that's the one thing is Nolan, like once you work with Nolan, you work with him again.
You're in.
Yeah, you're
in. Cinematographer on Tenet is the same guy that was on this. I can't think of his name again.
Yeah.
It's a complicated
Hoyt
van something.
Hoyt van Hoyten.
Hoyten, yeah.
Oh, okay. We're going to down. Just keep trying.
Hoyt van Hoytema.
Yeah, he did Black Panther 1 and 2.
Yeah.
He did Creed. A lot of good stuff.
Yeah, for Göransson, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to The Plot, which is very thick.
It's very dense.
Explosive.
Very
I don't know.
dense. It's actually not very explosive for a really long time.
It's not, but the emotional payoff that you get, whenever obviously the Trinity explosion happens, but then the final part of the trial / hearing is really, you get those big moments that you're kind of really hoping for.
Yeah.
Especially because, you know, in real life, Oppenheimer posthumously got basically his security clearance re-invoked after...
Yeah, it was ruled an incorrect ruling or whatever.
Yeah, because of kangaroo court, whatever. And, you know, unfortunately, he wasn't alive for that to happen because he just got dragged through the mud for essentially doing what he was asked to do.
Right.
And the problem is whenever you're in this situation, particularly in a war where you have this new technology that could possibly, one, end the war and also end life.
Right.
If the Germans got it before you did,
right,
it's over.
Yeah, and it's too, like, it's a really good, the movie does a really good job of portraying that idea of like, we have to do this to beat the Nazis.
Yeah,
we have to do this. And then when the Nazis are like surrendering and they're like, so we're done, right? And they're like, well, no, we have to like
Japan. It's the slippery slope, right?
It's now all of a sudden the moviegoer and Oppenheimer, like at the same time, are realizing, the machine, the wheels on this machine are rolling. There's
the snowball's going downhill. It's not in my control anymore.
This is already like, which ties into like what he said at Albert Einstein at the end. Like a fear we might have anyways.
Which is a really poignant and just bombshell line at the end. Where you're just like, you're not wrong.
He's not wrong. And I wondered too, like I didn't read American Prometheus because it's a very long book.
It's a dense book.
Yeah, but I listened to a
very small print,
a podcast series that like basically went through all of the events of the Manhattan Project surrounding Oppenheimer and the stuff that was happening in Germany with their development and stuff like that. And so I had a lot of like fresh knowledge in the brain of like all this stuff going into this movie. So I was never at any point like really confused. I kind of knew a lot of the high points of like,
I definitely think that if you are unfamiliar going into this film with any of the general events that happened, one in Oppenheimer's life, but then also World War II, and
it can be real confusing.
It can be very confusing if you're not up on that, because there are some key points in history that like I knew, like, whenever they're like, oh, well, what happened to Oppenheimer and everything like that.
Right.
I'm like, well, I know he didn't die. I mean, he died later, but I know he didn't die from something that happened with the atom bomb or whatever.
Right, yeah.
So but I knew that he got dragged through the mud for just essentially doing what he was asked to do.
Right.
But,
and also for having a conscience about it afterwards.
Yeah.
Basically, like, because they go into that in the film where it's like, well,
where's your moral?
Or like Teller even says, I don't know what your principles are. You know?
Right.
But then he starts to display them, and everyone hates it.
Yeah.
So, like, all right, cool, awesome, wonderful.
It's like, what do you want from me, right? Yeah. But yeah, the biggest thing for me was towards the end, after the Trinity explosion, and it goes into the trials and stuff like that. They do play fast and loose with a lot of the names that you have to remember from like an hour and a half ago.
Boy, do they ever.
And you're just like, I think I know who that guy is. Is he the one with the glasses? I don't know. They all have glasses.
Well, I will say this. I felt like there were only one or two faces that were close to one another.
Yeah.
They mostly felt distinct, if not like face mannerism or like size.
Oh, no, they do. It's just really like you need like, and he does a pretty good job at every time they'll name someone that you really haven't seen in a while. They'll show a silent clip of their face. I'm like, this guy right here.
Right.
And then it goes back. But every once in a while it doesn't do that. And you're just like, I think I know who that guy is. Maybe.
Right.
And even for me, like knowing all that, it was still a little confusing at times.
Yeah.
But luckily the dialogue and the plot in general, it probably doesn't really matter anyways.
I was going to say, to some respects, it almost doesn't, from our perspective, right? Not to, lessen the achievements of scientists here.
Yeah.
But it almost doesn't matter whose name is which, so long as we know what their role is.
Take that, Nobel Prize winners.
Right, yeah. We're lousy with Nobel Prize winners here, and I don't care about any of them, as long as I know what you're doing.
What'd you make, dynamite? Get out of here, kid.
Yeah, I mean, they had the one bit within the plot where we had kind of the actual Russian spy reveal.
Yeah.
And boy, was it ever really subtle in the idea of they had the final implosion test and it failed.
Yeah.
And it was the Russian spy deliberately fouling it, and the other guy being like, I know it works. I don't know why this one failed.
Yeah.
But boy, they could have just slid that past you.
Yeah.
And now, I got to ask y'all a question.
Okay.
And I'm blanking on her name right now. It's Florence Pugh's character. Jean?
Jean.
That sounds right, yeah.
Is it Jean?
Yeah.
So she commits suicide, right, in the tub?
But there's a shot.
There's a shot with a hand and
holding
a glove?
her head underneath.
Yes.
I think the reason that, and this is I'm supposing speculating, yeah. I think there's some question about her.
About what was the FBI eliminate her as a liability.
He was talking about this. He was talking obviously emotionally to Emily Blunt's Kitty.
His wife, yeah.
And it could be him postulating in his mind.
His hand
He was
her.
like, well, that,
Also
or
possible.
he was like, the government did it.
Right.
And it wasn't actually her.
Because
he stepped out
close again. Yep, I stepped out of line, and
he
this is
got the clearance and left anyways, and was like getting out of bounds, and they were like, we can't have him doing this anymore. Let's get rid of that.
So I think
burn off that small thread.
Yeah, but no, I think that was postulating on in his mind, because we've already been in his mind a couple times.
It was in color, so we know that this is Oppenheimer's viewpoint.
Perspective. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so with that, like, and it could be that her actual death in real life was still nebulous.
Yeah,
it could have been. Yeah,
which I mean, in that era, and anti-communist sentiment,
entirely
just
who
within the security apparatus. I mean, who knows? I don't. I haven't gone back and looked up this person in real life to see if there's like a wiki or whatever.
Yeah.
So I saw
I'm
somebody.
just glad that y'all saw it too, because I saw it.
Yeah.
It just flips around. I was like, wait, hold up, and they never go back to it. So I was like, because they show this bit with the lieutenant colonel,
Pash,
not Pash. No. Weasel dude. He looks like a weasel.
Dane DeHaan is the actor.
He looks like such a weasel. But they show a bit with him where it's like he's giving orders to Borton or whoever that writes the thing.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I was like, is this supposed to be like a misdirection where we don't actually know who it is, and it's just supposing, hey, it's the weasel guy? And it's like, no, okay, it actually was.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if it's the same thing with the glove.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like, that was definitely one of those moments where I was like, and then I was like, oh, they never came back to it.
Yeah, they don't elaborate on it.
I guess maybe that was just postulation.
Just figure it out.
It was just
speculate on your own, nerd.
Yeah. I did see somebody mention that when Alden Ehrenreich, name drops John F. Kennedy at the end, they were like, what, are they making an Oppenheimer cinematic universe? Because, there's a lot of people that think Strauss had something to do with the death of JFK. So.
Well, we'll find out in Oppenheimer 2.
Just wait for
Atomic Bomb Boogaloo.
Hydrogen Bomb Boogaloo.
But yeah, do we want to move on to entertainment?
Let's do it.
All right, entertainment. Were you entertained?
Despite being hot and the projector flickering and all the issues I had, I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. I think the music was great. I think the cinematography is great. The acting was great.
The sets were great. Minus our flag issue.
Minus the flag issue.
He's
British. Come on.
Let's talk about that scene real quick.
Oh yeah. That's probably one of the best scenes in the movies.
Yeah.
So it's if you don't know at home, it's the scene where he's, the bomb is dropped. And now he has to give like a speech, a pep talk to everybody. They're all fired up on patriotism.
Well, and then you have like people that are crying in the corner and oh man. But
his brother's like outside throwing up because of what they've done, kind of thing.
Well, and just the perspective of him where they cut all the sound and it's just like him, and then he's like stepping in a charred corpse. And just
And then, what a choice too when the bomb goes off to have no sound effect, no music, no nothing.
Phenomenal. That's
we could have had Zorro in there.
The Zorro style cat. It made when the shockwave
when it finally hits
that much more impactful. Yeah, but I think it's one of those movies where it's definitely not an easy watch. It's not something that you could just pop on in an afternoon. It's one of those I feel like you need to sit down, you need to pay attention to it. But it did not feel like almost 3 hours long.
It did not. It is exactly 3 hours long.
It was paced really well.
It is,
and it's incredibly acted. It's one of my favorite movies of the year for sure.
I mean, it basically kept me upright in my seat the whole way through. And I will say, we were moving houses. We were exhausted watching this film. Lauren was like struggling in a moment where she closed her eyes and she's like, "No, I can't."
Yeah.
It had me though the whole way through.
It did.
Yeah.
And I definitely will say too. I mean, it's one of those films where it is oddly emotional for a lot of parts. But the stuff the stuff that really hit me was, I've been to Hiroshima when we went to Japan for our honeymoon back in 2016, and there's a lot of one, being at Ground Zero is just absolutely wild, consciously. But then you go through and you go through the museums and the memorials and everything, and it's really sad and it's very hard to get through.
Yeah,
and then seeing the opposite end done so well of the guilt that he has and the other scientists have for doing this and all this other kind of stuff, where it was very emotional a couple times in the film. I'm just like, wow, I didn't expect that.
Right.
And maybe that's just because I've been there. And
I was gonna say, I think for you having been there and me listening to this podcast series that gets into just the absolute horrible accounts of what happened at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, like you have more context for like what's happening, that I do question if like the average moviegoer, if you haven't done any kind of like deep dive,
extra research.
Right. Because like, I went through grade school, high school history. Yeah. We didn't really get deep into the Manhattan Project.
It was like, we dropped the bomb.
They made a bomb and we had to do it, like that's the attitude they have. And so what I'm saying is like,
U.S. education on history.
It is. It is
terrible.
That's legit though. Like if you haven't done the legwork yourself, you're probably ignorant to a lot of that perspective. Yeah. So like I could very easily see someone coming out of this and being like pro atomic bomb. Like, we did it. And it's like, whoa, hold on.
But I mean, the scientific achievement is pretty incredible. The results are pretty horrifying.
Right.
So I will say, if you want some background on this, there's a really good book. I had to read this in high school, literally titled Hiroshima. It's by John Hershey. So it follows the stories of six different stories of 6 survivors and kind of the horrors of it and surviving the bomb. It is one heck of a read.
They mentioned that on the podcast.
Yeah, it's not it's not a very long book.
Yeah,
I remember it in high school. It was a small little thing, but it'll hit you. If you want some context or whatever to Oppenheimer, I would absolutely recommend that I haven't read it in a long time, but it sticks with you.
Yeah. But I mean, really heavy subjects aside, I was thoroughly entertained by this film, and I really do think that it's Christopher Nolan's best film, if not his second best film. And the first one, the top 3 are probably pretty nebulous and kind of interchangeable based on
your mood.
It's also like what do you prefer out of a film, right?
Yeah.
You want action? Well, like Dark Knight's going to be up there for you.
Do you want epic sci-fi? You have Interstellar. You have a lot of these kind of things, and this is just another checkbox for him where he's done Dunkirk, and Dunkirk was a great film.
Dunkirk's way up there for me. You back off.
No. I think it's a great film, but I think this just does so much better with ramping tension and paying off with that tension, where Dunkirk is great, but man, there's a lot of shepherd tones, and those shepherd tones just never stop.
Oh boy, do they ever not stop. That's how they work. That's how they work.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think there are a lot of great bits in this, and aside from you get a ton of names thrown at you, a ton of faces. But like bits with like the fishbowl and the martini glass with the 2 glass balls going in and filling that to show passage of time and progress was really cool.
Show don't tell.
And I think something I saw that some other people complain about, and again, it's hard to divorce yourself of the knowledge you have. Is like there were people that were confused about that, and it's like they're enriching uranium and plutonium at different rates at 2 different sites, and then like whichever one gets the most first, we're going to build a bomb for that. Like. There were people.
Did they get the plutonium or uranium for the Trinity bomb?
Well, so I saw people that wanted them to get into the nitty gritty of how the bomb worked and how all that was happening.
It's not that kind of film.
It's not, and that's where independent research outside of the movie is. Hopefully, it inspires people to learn more about that whole era.
It was cool to see them bring up stuff like the implosion method versus the shotgun method, which is the 2 different bombs. Like Fat Man is a shotgun, Little Boy is implosion, because it's. It's harder to do implosion, but it's also way smaller. The form factor is better. So that's why they were pushing for it on the research. But they weren't going to leave. They didn't leave anything out, right? They designed both these ways to do it. Teller was working on the hydrogen bomb in the background. Like they were covering every base basically.
Right.
It's a really incredible watch. Not just from like a drama aspect or a tension, but the history involved, the performance. I think it's one of those films where everything comes together perfectly. Right?
Yeah.
And it's going to stick with you for a long time.
Yeah. So as we're wrapping up here, we do have to shill for Patreon.
That's such a dirty word.
No, that's what we have to
promote. We have to promote the Patreon. Come on. It's alliteration.
Okay, well, we have to promote the Patreon.
It's PPP. Pop your plosives and promote the Patreon.
The Patreon, support the podcast.
$1 right now, you can donate to us, and you will get a whole slew of bonus episodes and commentaries and bonus content that you can access at any time you want. You get it at least once a month, sometimes more. You never know.
Yeah, for $1 a month, you get access to all of our previous stuff, plus we're putting at least 1 episode up, sometimes more each month.
Our most recent one, we went to the great, scary, newest technology out there, AI, and asked ChatGPT to give us movie titles of different genres, and then we spitballed it around and came up with who should be in it, what's the plot, some scenes within it, and it gets a little wild.
It gets wild.
If you join our Discord, you can see Midjourney generated movie posters.
So Midjourney is an AI tool where you generate images. Yeah. Yes. So we went in after we had recorded it and said, let's make some images to go with our harebrained ideas of who should be in this movie.
It's totally ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
a lot of fun as well.
It was a lot of fun. But yeah, we have our Patreon, but if you can't support right now, totally fine.
Yeah.
We would love for you to review us on iTunes or toss us a rating on Spotify, share us with a friend, your cat, I don't care, someone.
Yeah. Leave a comment on our posts, let us know what your favorite Christopher Nolan film is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, we are pretty much out of time, but we do really have to thank you for, one, joining us on the special episode of Barbenheimer, because we have the double feature weekend that has come back somehow in the most unlikely way possible. Get your bingo cards out, because this was a weird weekend, but it was a lot of fun, and I'm glad that all of us could participate in some form or fashion despite the heat.
Despite the heat in multiple theaters
AC
in our area.
All right. And that does sound like all the time we have this week. So until next time, I'm Andrew.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Steven.
And every spoiler was intended.